Okay, and we are live. Welcome in, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Today we have a very special guest, BunkmastaB.
Oh,
No, it's you.
I'm the special guest.
You're the
Oh,
special guest.
oh,
Bunk,
I'm
how are
I'm
you?
so sorry, everyone. Good, man. Just put the kids down for bed. It's always kind of a race whenever I have a stream scheduled like that. I kind of getting everything going. So, apologies to the chat. I'm the reason it's late. Not Labruski. He was all professional. He was ready to go. That was all on me. The life of a dad.
They won't hold it against you, I'm sure. Cool. So why don't we start out with a pretty simple question? Where does the name originate from?
I
BunkmastaB. Tell me.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to come up. Yeah, it's BunkmastaB is just it's a silly throwaway name that originally started in a conversation with a friend of mine uh, back in undergraduate, and back in the days of yore that I attended undergraduate, there was this
Okay.
show on called American Idol, and I had a friend who she was a great singer. She won like every local singing competition, and
Oh
she was
wow.
thinking
Holy smokes.
seriously of trying out for it. And we were all pushing for her, and I told her, and I was like, "Listen, if you need someone to go with you, I'll go with you, and I'll be that secondary person that they keep bringing through so that you can get to the last stage where they go in front of Simon Cowell and everyone, and I just like completely botch it, and then they just go in on me, and then they have that like image of like security taking me away, and I'm just like yelling at them, and as I go out they'll be like, got nothing on me, BunkmastaB will rise again. And it was just this name that I came up with on the spot as this like silly joke for what I was going to call myself as security was taking me away. That was at this point like over 20 years ago, and it just
Wow.
kind of became a name I started using more and more, and then it kind of just became me.
And it stuck. Wow.
Yeah, the official switchover happened during pandemic era when kind
Mhm.
of everyone was, there was nothing really to do, so everyone was just hanging out in comic live streams. I My YouTube account was just like hooked up to my Gmail, so I was typing with my first and last name, like my
Right.
real ones, and the more like active I was and like people would recognize that, I was like, shoot, like people are saying my name and recognizing my comments as like being the guy from before, and there's a picture of me on here. I was like, I should change that so I'm not doxing myself as like the
It's
most
a good idea.
limited version, and then just like BunkmastaB uh just became that. So, everyone
Interesting.
go out there, keep your identity because people are trying to get you canceled.
That's true. Yeah, very true. That story took a lot of interesting twists and turns and went to a place I was not expecting, but I
It's a
enjoyed it.
very long way of telling a story that's not that interesting, and that's kind of the Bunkmaster experience. Is I will use many words to say something that could be like, "Yeah, I came up with it in college, and then I switched over." Like that's in essence what I just said. I just took many more words to do it. I'm like a Brian Michael Bendis story. You're gonna see 9 panels of me, just like with each panel being like a few words, and it's gonna take 16 pages to say something that could have been covered in like 3 panels.
I enjoyed the story. I'm curious.
I'm a
Did your
big Bendis
friend
guy.
ever did your friend ever try out for American Idol?
She did. Unfortunately, she did not make it, but she's an exec for the auto industry now. So,
She's doing well.
yeah,
Good.
she's not hurting, shall we say. She didn't get to go the artistic direction, but she's definitely living out some dreams for herself. Very happy for her. Erica, if you somehow are watching, what up, you?
Shout out to Erica. Awesome. Well, let's take a look at the chat real quick before we move on. Um, we have Jake from the Brave and the Boys. I think it's his birthday. So, Jake, if you are watching, happy birthday.
How many birthdays does
Uh,
that guy have? have. I mean, he
Right,
planned
I know.
birthday. He was going off and doing that. Now it's his birthday again. Like
I
I
I,
feel like
I agree. I agree. He's gotta chill. We have James Abel. James, how are you? Hope you're doing well.
got a
Uh,
little beef with James here.
do you have
James
some
is
beef
supposed to
with
be.
James?
I got some beef with James.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so James is he's supposedly the oracle of comics YouTube, and he had no idea any of this was happening. He's not set up to get notifications on your channel. In fact, as he was going down, he couldn't, like, that wasn't even an option for him.
Oh
Didn't
my
know this was
god.
happening. So uh James, do not be flexing in the chat. Nope, you do not get to flex on this one. This is flabby armed emoji. This is we're not flexing on him right here. This is that's the emoji that you should be showing right now, because
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
not comic flexing like you should be.
James, I'm hurt. I'm hurt, James. It's
I mean, to
okay.
be
We
fair,
can
he did take screenshots, and literally there was some kind of thing where your channel is like set up as like videos for kids, that there wasn't an option for notifications for him.
huh.
So I mean,
Interesting. I did not know that. James, let me know if that's how it still is. If I need to fix that. Because I remember a while ago, I think he told me that, and I thought I fixed it, but maybe I never did.
I did the pull down. I have the regular options where I can do the bell, I can do personalized, and I can
Okay,
do
cool.
none, and his didn't. So I think that's on
Cool.
him.
I think it is, but that's good to know. Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Who else do we have? We have
My
Carl's
buddy
collection.
Carl right there. Yeah. Carl, that is the first step to being on YouTube, is buy some tank tops, and then really the rest of it kind of just fills in from there.
I do not own any tank tops. Not yet. I think I still need to I'll need to buy some now.
I mean, it's never too late to start that tank top collection.
For myself, I never started, and I don't know if I should, to be honest. I don't know if the public would be okay with me wearing tank tops.
I will
don't
say,
know.
for me, it kind of all just started out of laziness.
That's fair.
It came mostly from like a gym thing, where
Mhm.
I wanted to reuse the same shirt multiple times and just keep it in my gym bag.
Yeah.
And the thing that was like impeding that, when I was doing t-shirts, would be the pit sweat that would that would store up like that.
Right.
But with a tank top, you don't have that
You know
issue.
what?
You just
Yeah,
paper towels, you just wipe down,
you're good.
and you're good to go. So you can get like 2 or 3 workouts off a tank top.
And I've never thought about it that way. That's smart. That's a smart use of tank tops, though. Let's see. Oh wait, we skipped over Jack. Jack, hope you're doing well. A Fifth Jack Gaming shout out. Good evening and good night, Labruski chat, and
Up,
of
Adam?
course,
What's going on, man? You
Adam. Are you going to bed? It's kind of early, but
I
if
mean,
you are, good night.
his day starts very, very early, but if you are
That's
still
true.
here, you grabbing any Ether Drift pre-release stuff?
What
I know
is it?
you are. Ether Drift. A Fifth of Jack and we're both big Magic the Gathering guys, and there's a new
I
set
see.
that's coming out called Ether Drift, where it's all racing themed. I'm sitting this
Interesting.
release out. Haven't seen anything that really sparks my my fancy, but I think this set's going to be one of those like hits with certain people in a big way, and doesn't so much for other people. So,
Magic the Gathering. That's something my friend Jack, actually, in the chat, he kind of got me into that in high school a little bit. And we played a couple times, and then it just kind of fell off. I enjoyed it, though. I had a lot of fun. But that's something I kind of want to get back into. So I may ask I didn't know Adam played it, so that's good to know. So if I do get back into it, I may come and ask for advice or help on what to do and how to play and
yeah, man.
whatnot. Because it was a lot of fun.
Quick, as like my quick 30-second like pitch for like why Magic is still important in 2025, because I'm someone that was like playing on the elementary school, like when no one really knew what the rules were, but we liked the cool pictures and we had a general idea what numbers are.
Sure.
As more and more activities get either solo or like screen based and like a little bit more anonymous. There are avenues to do that, but what got me back into Magic as like an adult and a parent with like limited time is
Right.
it's an activity that I play with a group of friends. We get together, and it's something that like forces us when we're playing paper to do it in person, hang out, phones away, no screen, and it's just like really fun time with my friends. An activity that we're doing while we're all hanging out, and like that's there's an element of like a shared activity that's all going there, but for us it's all just like fun, hanging out, and we'll be
Yeah.
there hanging out till like midnight, something like that. We're all dads, we all have like families, and it's just like it's a way that we can kind of put that away and just like have face to face time. And any
That's
activity
awesome.
that can get you to do that, I think is useful and valuable.
Yeah. Well, I think as you get older too, in order to like maintain friendships, I think it's important to have those activities where you can do together, like magic or like golf or like any
Yeah.
sort of activity where you can set time aside and just have the play, do the activity, whatever. Um, and so yeah, I think that's a great reason to get into magic is that community aspect of it almost.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's literally right there in the name. I mean, it's not just
The
everyone
gathering.
calls it a
Yeah.
magic card, but the gathering, and that's the idea
Right.
is that it's supposed to be is that it's bringing people together. And as time goes on, I think it's easier and easier to sort of disconnect from the people in our real lives as more and more sort of online spaces and communities are happening where we can and this is not to say that like those places shouldn't exist. Like I'm
Sure.
clearly a big comics person, and I
Right.
really don't have anyone in sort of my day-to-day life that shares that with me. And so it's great that I have places like the YouTube space, places on Discord that I'm able to connect with people there. But at the end of the day, there's no experience greater than sharing in person, with the most important people in your life, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whatever that activity is
Whoever, yeah.
doing. It's just having that face-to-face time that you can be there with someone.
That's awesome. Yeah, I will have to get into it. It's tough around me though because I'm kind of more out in the country-ish area, and I
If
think
if
there
you
is
wanna
a
have if you wanna have a rural off, I can have a rural off. Uh, I'm not anymore, but where I grew up, my town had the only stoplight in the entire county.
oh my god. Okay, I think you win.
I
I think
grew
you
up on a
win.
dirt road. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's tougher certainly when there's not those
Sure.
meeting spaces, but there's always people either that are currently playing and that you probably don't know about, or it's there are easy ways to sort of introduce it to the friends that you already have and just have it as a thing that you can do, or just some other activity. It doesn't need to be magic, but just like
Yeah.
some kind of activity bring people together.
Have you dipped your toes into the Magic Online, like the arena, whatever it's called? Have you played that
Yeah,
at all?
yeah,
How
I
was that?
play I play arena. I was big into it back a few different years ago,
Hmm.
when I was feeling especially isolated. I was working a job
Yeah.
that had me. It was right when my daughter was born, and then for insurance reasons, I had to take like a different shift because between insurance and just like childcare, and I felt like super isolated because it was like I was awake when all of my friends were asleep, and I was asleep when all of my friends were awake, and like I couldn't really get to see people, and it was good for that, but it like I could definitely feel that pull of like withdrawal.
Sure.
Now I
Yeah.
use it basically to play with Jake, who was up there earlier because he's out in California, and we'll connect to each other and we'll go on voice chat and we'll play with each other while we just kind of hang out.
I didn't know he played Magic either. That's good to
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I may have to get into the online, but I would like to, play in person too. I think that's
It,
where the fun is
the
had, to
the
be
thing that
honest.
I would say is if you if you want to learn how to play,
Yeah.
arena is absolutely the best way to learn.
Okay.
Um, because I like I said, I started when I was in 6th grade playing on, playground blacktops. I got back in during college, and it's one of those things that like I kind of played the right way, but there's always things until you're forced to play by the rules with Arena, where it's like, I'm going to do the rules for you so you'll know and you'll get to see this, that you'll always kind of get wrong. And especially
Yeah.
if you are like bringing people into it and you're introducing it to people, if you are able to like, if you know the rule, it just kind of helps that much more to like have someone who knows as opposed to everyone sort of learning and be like, all right, can I play a sorcery now? Is that something I can do, or do I not? You played that? Can I play this now? Just like
Right.
certain basic things like that, being like, nope, you got to wait until it's your turn, then you can go ahead and do that. Just little things like that kind of helps. And Arena's really good at sort of like teaching. It's dynamic, works pretty well for that.
Cool. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to try that out. Let's go down the chat a little more. Alexander Miller, aka the Comic Central, is here. How are you doing? Reen is Spawn is here. Hope you're doing well. Bunk, 7'1", and is that true? Are you?
I'm not 7'1". I am 6'6". I am
Okay.
a very large human. I am 6'6".
Okay. Dunk on people back in high school. He gave himself the name
I
Bunk the Dunk. Is that true too?
I've been a lifelong I did not give myself that nickname, but no, I've been a lifelong basketball player. I've been a lifelong basketball fan. Growing up in the '90s, being 6'6", I learned to play like the classic, back to the basket big man. And I've sort of, as time has gone on, I've had to sort of like pull myself out and be a little bit more handling and shooting. And you need to ban Jack because this is strictly a Celtic stream right now. There will be no Knicks talk going on.
Uh-oh.
So
Go
yeah,
Knicks.
I know Jack. I know Jack's a mod, but sorry, we're not going to accept that tonight.
Am I going to have to unmod him after that comment, you think? Should I?
I think you need to ban him from the channel. I
Ban him?
think
Oh my goodness. Wow.
you can keep him a mod. That's fine, but he just has no access to the channel.
Okay. All right. Who else is here? James Abel is already here. I think he's throwing some shade back at you. What do you have to say about this, Bunk? Do you have an answer for James Abel?
So at this point, years plural ago, when I did my overview for, you can't see it, but it's down here, Power Rangers Book 1, I was working on a Power Rangers by Boom Studio reading order. I'm a huge Power Rangers fan, and especially the comics by Boom Studios. And I was noted for like when people on the Near Mint Condition Discord would be trying to like get into it and be like, where do I start? How would I read this? They would hit me up, and like I have over time in just that Discord alone written like 5 reading guides out instead of like copying and pasting. And I was working on a script and I thought I was going to have this video out. And so in that reading order, I said, next week, I'm going to have a video about a reading order up next. And that was like years ago. And I still haven't done that. And it's been coming back with that. And so now the running joke is people just like to taunt me with that I haven't made that yet.
Will you ever do it?
Year. This will be the year.
Okay.
So this is the year that Boom is going to finalize the last of the hardcover deluxe edition covering the mainline run before it turns into the current Prime series. Once that finishes, I'm going to, because at that point I'll have all the books, it'll be finished. It's something that I can concretely say, here is how you read this.
Sure.
As opposed to like, here's how you read up to now, and now this video will not be useful in like 2 months. So James, clip this, make it a gift, do whatever you need to. 2025, I will finally do the reading order.
Awesome. I look forward to it. I am not familiar with Power Rangers too much, so if I were to dabble into it, I would definitely use that video as
even if you've never seen the show, have no interest in the show. In fact, I would say, like, at this point, if you have no basis with the show, probably don't watch the show.
Sure.
The comics, I think, are some of the absolute bar none finest team superhero comics and are like the perfect example of like what a team comic should be.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Wow. Yeah, you have high praise for that then.
There's a reason that people still ask me about it and still make fun of me about it this far into it.
You're right. I suppose you're right. Let's see. Alexander does not own any tank tops. I do not either. I was just slapping together a quote. I am saving my Magic the Gathering funds for Spider-Man set. What Spider-Man sets?
So there was a mini, like there was a set of cards that came out earlier that Fitzajack picked up the Wolverine stuff from. There's supposed to be a full Marvel set coming out, but I don't think that's this year, is it? I think because we've got Final Fantasy coming out this summer. Yeah. So they do.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, they've been last few years they've been doing crossover sets. So like, 2 years ago they did a Lord of the Rings set where it was all set in Lord of the Rings world. They made the Lord of the Rings characters, all that. They've done Assassin's Creed. They've done Fallout. They did Transformers. They've done these other ones. And they're going to be working with Marvel to create an entirely in-world Marvel set. So you can have Spider-Man fighting against Black Panther and like doing all of that kind of stuff in the Magic rule set. It's going to be super fun.
That sounds awesome. I definitely need to get into Magic before that comes out. That way I can be hyped for it. Alexander Miller, school district canceled school tomorrow because of the high possibility of snow. Well, that's always good when you have a snow day. Yeah, that's awesome. I hope. I personally like the snow. I'm from New York, so as of late we've been getting a lot of snow. So I've been really enjoying that.
Look at big city boy from New York talking about the big place he grew up. Some of us grew up in Vermont, and we know what out in the country is. And we would go to upstate New York. We would go to Bokies. We would go to Rochester or Utica or any of those places. We wanted the big city experience.
You would go to Utica for the big city experience?
Absolutely, we would.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's funny. I went to Vermont, I think once. I really enjoyed it. I went to Killington, I believe. Yep. And
that's our biggest ski resort in the state.
And my brother, he's a big snowboarder. Mm-hmm. So one year after Christmas, we had cousins up too, and they like to ski and snowboard when they're up. We decided to go to Killington, stay there for like a weekend or whatever. But oh my God, it was so cold. It was like negative like 20, I think. Like it was freezing. And people were still out snowboarding. Yep. I didn't. I that year I got a switch. I remember, and I do like to snowboard and whatnot. But I was like, you know what? I got to switch. I'm going to stay in the lodge and play Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. That's what I did. It was awesome. But my only experience going to Vermont was it being like negative 20 out, and it was brutal.
Yeah, it was beautiful. The only time I've ever been to Killington was every year on April Fools. I don't know if they still do. I moved away from the state a while ago at this point, but it used to be that they did every April 1st. They would do any in-state skier or snowboarders. So if you could show you had a valid Vermont license, you could ski for $1. And so, it was at a season. You wouldn't get the best conditions, but it's still Killington. It's still great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I did not know they did that. I wonder. Yeah, I bet my brother, he lives up north. He's still in New York, but near like Lake Placid. I'm totally like doxing him right now. Sorry, Nick, my brother.
I like how you're like, oh, I'm doxing him. I shouldn't do. His name is Nick. His social security is 578-392744.
Oh my God. I know. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyhow, if they still do that, I don't think he's probably a few hours away from Killington still, but he would definitely take the trip up. That's awesome though.
Well, if he lives in Lake Placid, he's not going to be able to get. He's got a, like I said, you have to have a Vermont license. You have to have a Vermont ID, and so
that's true. That would, yeah. Dang. Oh well. Maybe you can get a fake ID, become a felon for that and get in for $1. I don't know if it's worth it at that point, at the risk of being caught and charged as a felon for invalid ID. But anyhow, Alexander Miller means I get a 6-day weekend. Incredible.
I get
That's
a
awesome.
3-day weekend coming up. We have President's Day off. I'm pretty excited about that.
That's true. That's true. For the Jack Gaming, heck yeah, Bunk and I are Jake's go-to Magic the Gathering gurus. Most definitely willing to answer questions. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Let's see. Jack agrees with you. It's nice to get away from the screens for a bit. I would agree. I think that's important for mental health and whatnot, especially nowadays. I totally agree. Fifth the Jack agrees too. I like to disconnect from the electronic world. That's why I do Friday Night Magic, also Dungeons and Dragons with my friends. Adam, where do you go for Friday Night Magic? Do you go to like a comic shop, card shop?
I can actually, he goes to a local game shop. So pretty
cool.
much any shop that has a play space that sells Magic the Gathering. As part of that, on Friday night, they have open play for different Magic the Gathering formats. So a lot of casual stuff where just like people can come in. And the idea is like, on Friday night, people are playing, you bring your deck, you do whatever you're looking for, and you kind of come in and do that. But his Dungeons and Dragons, another one, like really great way. And, board games, just anything that like gives you an excuse to be together with your friends in a space, just hanging out. Love things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to play Dungeons and Dragons a couple times, and I just feel like it's too much almost. And I'm not, to be honest, too, I'm not a huge like fantasy guy either. And I don't know, I don't love the role playing aspect of it, and that's like the biggest appeal of the game is the role playing aspect. And
if you're not into
it
role
just didn't
playing, you
do it for
probably
me.
won't be into role playing games. So
Yeah, I did, however, play Baldur's Gate 3, and that was a ton of fun. I had a blast playing that.
So I do not have a system that is capable of playing that, but again, because I'm old,
Good.
you can tell from the gray in this beard right here, and I keep talking about things that happened in the days of yore. Baldur's Gate 2, to a lesser extent 1, but Baldur's Gate 2 was one of my absolute favorite games of all time. But that came out like literally 20 plus years ago. So very, very different game, but I adore that game. I love that game. I've spent maybe more time in that game than like any others. It's close with some, but just I so want to play Baldur's Gate 3. I've heard great things about it. I just don't have a way to play
good. I had such a blast. I got so immersed into that game, and like I said, I'm not a D&D guy at all, and not I like even RPG video games. I'm not crazy about, but I don't know what it was. I was just into that game a whole bunch. It was a blast, and if it's like Baldur's Gate 2, I imagine it's Baldur's Gate 2 is a bunch of fun too. Let's see. Alexander, same here. I mainly talk about comics on Discord and YouTube since my brothers are at college. Cool. I got to catch up on the chat too. Jake, are you still watching? I doubt he's still watching. We can play Magic the Gathering over webcam, so there are options, especially nowadays. That would be interesting.
Yeah. You'll see. They have it like set up where like everyone, kind of like what we're doing here. The format that we play is usually 4 players, but it's like you have windows that are going here, except instead of showing our faces, it would show our board, and so you can see everyone's cards all laid out, and you basically like say, I'm doing this and doing that. So
that would be interesting. I wonder, we could live stream it. That would be kind of cool. Huh. Maybe I'll have to try to work something out. We have another Alex here. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well, Alex. Alex, I might be thinking of a different YouTuber, but Alex, if you posted a video recently about Invincible, I enjoyed it. I watched it. I thought it was great. Hopefully that was you. If not, I apologize. All right, let's go. Knicks. Not a fan of Knicks, huh? You said Celtics?
I am. Yeah, I grew up in Vermont, about 2.5 hours north of Boston. That was my city growing up. So I'm straight across the board Boston.
Awesome. If I don't really watch sports, but if I were to, I would probably be a Celtics fan just because I'm Irish. You know, it just makes sense.
There's
And,
nothing
yeah.
more Irish than a team that calls themselves the Celtics with a
Very
soft
true.
C. Yeah, yeah. All the
That's
Irish love that, and they don't have big issues with the fact that they're not called the Celtics.
That's very true. Carl's collection is coming out the
Oh,
week after the best of
Carl,
2024 video.
what are you doing to me, buddy? Come on, they're jamming me up about Power Rangers. You're coming off. By the way, I have not seen a Carl's collection video about a best of 2024 yet. You've had plenty of other videos, but I have not seen a Carl's collection best of 2024. So,
Shots fired across
the
the
first
board.
stone and all that. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh.
I'll get around.
James, he has a countdown going already for that Power Rangers video.
Well, he's saying that's how many days I have left to go until the end of 2025.
Yeah.
Might be enough.
Yeah. He's on you. He's on you. He'll remind you
yeah.
every day how many days you have left too. I guarantee it.
It's true. I only knew that I hit 100 days in between videos at one point because he reminded me and told, like, he posted it's been 100 days, and I was like, all right. And then just like the next day on one, I just like filmed a quick one to be like, it's on my 101st day. I arose from the dead and I came back.
That's funny. Alex has a good question. Are the Power Rangers books in print?
They are at this point. I believe they are all in print to varying degrees.
Okay.
So for a while, some of those earlier ones were like wickedly expensive. Like this book for a while, Power Rangers Year One, which is different than Book One, which is a whole thing.
Okay.
This was like a $200 book. This was for a long time. Like this was my whale. And then
is that out of print price? Or was that what it was retail for?
No. So this is retail for $75. You can
find.
I
was going to say $200 for retail book. It's crazy.
No, so these retail for $75 a piece. Really nice hardcovers.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about them too. So with each of them, because one of the best parts about the Power Rangers comics is they get a ton of variants. So so like the entire this section. This much of the books are all full pages of all the variants that got printed.
Oh my gosh.
And so you get like a whole bunch of like comics, each of the volumes has about 16 issues worth of the books. And then they have just like over a trade's worth basically of just the full art covers. And they are beautiful and so nice. And just like it's amazing to kind of like look through and do that. But I believe at this point Shattered Grid might be out of print, but everything else you may not be able to find them on every site. Like I don't think you can find this on in-stock trades, but if you go on Amazon, you can find this for undercover. This is like $50 there.
Cool.
If you go on like Book Outlet, you can actually find some of the later volumes at discounted prices. So like they've got, I think, Necessary Evil and Book One, you can get those for like $33 a piece, so almost like for 50% off. So you can find, I believe, all of them right now in print, different degrees.
Is that the first one they should start with?
Yeah. This one right here, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers by Kyle Higgins, is what restarts the universe. Okay. So the reason that you need a reading order is because they did things a little silly.
Sure. As comic book publishers do. I feel like they always do things silly.
There's also another series called Go-Go Power Rangers.
Let me look at this.
So
okay.
And this came out after Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but they were going out concurrently. Like I don't know, there was like a 6-month lag or something like that. So both of them were going on. But even though this came out after, chronologically, this takes place before. But this volume right here, Shattered Grid, contains issues of both of them that goes in here. So like this book right here has 4 of the issues of this that are right here. And then
Wow.
this volume right here, volume 2, is the stupidest book. It shouldn't exist because if you have the mainline Power Rangers books, the only thing that is covered in here that you don't have in the other stuff is 4 issues and a special. Literally 5 books are not contained with the other ones. And then there's also
That's
side
stinky.
ones like so it's honestly it's easier to read than it seems, but whenever I try to make the argument, honestly it's really easy. Like you can just kind of jump in wherever. So if you go, well, you see, so
It
I
gets
mean you
complicated.
heard my explanation there. I swear it's not that complicated. And if I ever like actually sit down and make the video, it's pretty straightforward. It just is more confusing than it seems.
Okay. I will add too, I do have some Boom hardcovers. I have the Something is Killing the Children Boom hardcovers, and those things are nice. So they're the same quality.
Something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. The slipcase too. I got that. Such good quality. Yeah. So, oh man, I love that slipcase edition.
Do you have the Once and Future?
I do not. I have not read that yet. I was considering getting it at some points, but I think it's something I want to read digitally first before I decide to make the purchase of the slipcase edition.
That is always a great idea.
Yeah, oh for
Huge
sure.
proponent of try and read something at least a few issues before you jump in. Blind buying really expensive books is a good way to resell immediately at a loss.
I agree completely. Yeah, I've made that mistake several times among the years now, and I'm over it. I've decided I want to. I'll buy a trade as a blind buy. You know, like
Yeah.
a 15, 20 bucks.
Yeah.
Like anything, like even like 35 to 50 bucks over. I am going to at least read the first few issues digitally before I decide to make that purchase.
Standard disclaimer, it seems like most everyone here is US based. If you have not done so already, go to your local library, sign up for a library card, sign up for the service called Hoopla. You get to read free digital comics. It's great. It's it's a way to get free extra comics.
I use Libby, which I believe is like the same concept.
Yeah, Libby's through Overdrive. They've got a more limited offering, and they tend to have more sort of independent titles. A lot of the stuff that I like is on that kind of thing. Hoopla is a lot of like DC and Marvel. A lot of good stuff there. Am I frozen, by the way?
Your screen is frozen. I can hear you perfectly fine though.
Okay. Well, if I ever unfreeze, I was going to show you some of the artwork in this volume and show you.
Let me try
stop
to
my
maybe.
cam.
All right, let's see if that works. I just removed and added you back. Now there's nothing. I'll try to catch up on the comics while we're waiting now. Alexander Miller, Kyle Higgins is a good writer. I like his Nightwing. Only thing I've read by Kyle Higgins is first couple of issues of Radiant Black, which I did enjoy. I want to get the hardcover for that. All right, there you go. Now we can
you
see
me now?
Yep, we can see you. Crystal clear.
So this is Once and Future, written by Kieran Gillen, who I absolutely adore. He is one of my favorite writers writing right now. Art by Dan Mora.
Oh, I love Dan Mora.
Let me just, look at this.
Oh,
look at this.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I mean, beautiful, like darkly horrifying. Get some sweet, Grendel's
that's awesome.
mother.
Oh wow, look at that. I think I did read the first issue of Once and Future, I believe digitally, and it didn't hook me right away, but I did enjoy it. I just don't know if I want to make the full purchase. Yeah, without reading more. So
Give it a trade.
or a trade, yeah, for sure.
It's cool. That one, most people I've talked, that one's like 100% hit rate or so.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I've only heard good things about it. So I will I think too, because I have the Kindle app and I used to have Comixology, which I think is like not a thing anymore, or there's not an app. I don't know. I think there's still a subscription, but it goes through just Kindle now. I believe the first trade digitally is available on there.
Yeah.
So I'll just need to read that and give that a go, or use Libby or Hoopla. Yeah, I've used Libby in the past. I've not tried Hoopla yet. I will. My mom's a librarian. She might
Hoopla
be
has
watching too.
much,
So I'll have to ask
much
her which
bigger.
one she likes.
Yeah.
What's it?
Hoopla has a much bigger comics library.
Okay, cool.
Libby, I tend to use more for audiobooks.
Okay.
You can do some ebooks there too. Like that's more of the overdrive stuff, but it's definitely a more limited comic library than something like Hoopla. Hoopla has tons and tons, and they typically have same day releases for trades. So like the
That's
same day
awesome.
that like a Marvel trade is hitting the shelves to buy, it's loaded up into Hoopla and you can just read it there.
That's awesome. I will have to check that out for sure. That's sweet. I did not know that about Hoopla. So it's more comic friendly then. If you're more into comics, probably Hoopla is the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would definitely
cool.
say so.
Good to know. Awesome. Alex adds, I love Power Rangers Mystic Force and SPD.
SPD emergency.
What does SPD stand for?
It's space. It's the space one. It's like the space police department. It's not police department, but basically it's like.
Is it in the Power Rangers universe or a separate thing?
I mean, it's all. So those are all like shows. So each season is a different
I
one,
see.
and they like some of the ones have like shared worlds. Some of them have different, but it's got like Anubis Krieger as like he's this like dog like alien creature kind of overseas, and they go on like it's a little bit post-apocalyptic, and they go on like interstellar missions to go and do it. It's a really cool one.
Awesome. I did. Okay, cool. Ether Drift looks pretty sweet. Jack, maybe we'll have to buy a couple packs and play online. Let's see. Utica mentioned. I'm near Utica, which I'm doxing myself now. So I did find it funny when you mentioned Utica. Let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, it's going to come out this year. No set date, but for sure releasing this year. I imagine this is the Marvel.
I thought everyone was assuming that it was Avatar that was coming out later, like Avatar: The Last Airbender set. But if a Fifth of Jack is saying so, I would believe it.
Okay, cool. Omni Nation Comics. Hey, what is up?
What is up, buddy? Omni Nation in the house.
I hope you're doing well, man. Good to have
if
you
anyone
here.
is not familiar with Day Day, go be familiar with Day Day.
Yeah, I love
this past Saturday. He did an amazing show with Omni Dog. Super fun. Has his own channel.
Yeah, I only caught a glimpse of that, but the 10 minutes or so I watched, I enjoyed it. So,
if Day Day, if you're still here, say what up. Love this guy.
Okay. Kids getting snow day so easy nowadays. There's a foot of snow. School is still happening. Yeah, I feel like when I was a kid, I remember a couple times there was like 2 feet of snow. I'm sure you're from Vermont, so you have way crazier stories of snow days and whatnot. But snow days were the best. They really were.
I mean, when you're a kid, it's great. When you're a parent, it's like, oh, cool. Now I got.
It's not as great.
Yeah, because it's like I still probably have to work, and now I need to figure out childcare that I wasn't planning on before.
That's fair.
Yeah, when school days happen, they forget to inform the workforce. Also, I like the bus drop, thing with my daughter. That's like one of my favorite parts of the day is like getting ready and hanging out at the bus stop and
Yeah.
getting out and going.
Oh, well, that's sweet. Alexander Miller. James already knows the info about your brother. All right,
It's
we have
James already knows everything.
That's very true. He really does. Everyone's saying hey to Day Day. Adam says, I haven't played BG3. I have been waiting for an affordable physical copy. Well, when you do get one, let me know what you think of it because I really enjoyed it. Especially if you're a D&D fan, I'm sure you're just going to eat it up. Let's see. Oh, and that was Alex's video yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, it was a great video on Invincible. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to your next one. Finishing the second Invincible compendium today. I'm so sad there's less than 50 issues left. Have you read Invincible?
I have. I read Invincible back when it was coming out.
Oh, wow.
It started when I was in undergrad, and one of my old roommates, he would buy the Ultimate Collection when it would happen, and
Oh, nice.
I would get weekly comics. He would get that, and he would get Fables, and like we would like pass our stuff back and forth and do that. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
I read the beginning when it was first coming out, and then later once it finished, I went back and read the whole thing. Yep, it's the tagline is it's the ultimate superhero comic. In a lot of ways, it is. It's kind of just like everything that you want, sort of distilled in. It's got the big action sequences. It's got the twists, the turns. It's got the soap opera love dynamic. Yeah, I mean it's everything kind of like cranked up to 11 because it's an image book and you kind of got to get away with a little bit more.
For sure. Yeah, I read the compendiums a couple of years ago now, and I read all three probably within maybe less than a month.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was so good. So, Alex, I am glad you're on the Invincible journey. Have you watched the show at all, Bunk?
Not really. I'm having young kids and being married.
It's tough to
the TV time that I get is very much sort of dominated by other people. Like if I'm going to watch a show, I pretty much need for one other person in my life to watch it to be able to watch it on a regular basis. If that is not the case, it's very pick and choosy. So like something comes out that like the whole family watches, like when a new Bluey season drops, we are through that instantly. We're so good there. Pokemon Horizons, the new series on Netflix. I love watching that with my kids. It's such a fun adventure. And like, I grew up with like the original show and like now they're getting to watch it. And it's just like so fun to do that. Severance, I watch with my wife when like, that we watch, that day it comes out. Yellow Jackets, we love that's coming back. I get to do the same thing. Stuff that I'm the only person that watches that gets a little tough to do just because there's not a whole lot of that time. So
that makes sense.
Because it's something I've already seen. It's one I've sort of made my peace with. I'm probably never going to get a chance to watch it just because I'd rather dedicate that time, the limited shows I have just me, to something else.
That's fair. I would recommend it.
Great. Are you going to babysit my kids then and give me that time to watch it? Because if not,
I'll do that for you,
I'm going to give you back that recommendation right there.
Well, listen, maybe once this show's fully wrapped up, maybe then when the kids are older, you'll find the time to check it out and you can binge it when it's all out.
And then at that point, you're going to babysit them?
If they if they need a babysitter at that point, yes, I will. Right. I will absolutely do that for you, so you can experience Invincible. Carl's Collection, touche, my friend. I'm aiming for a best of 2024 and 2025 in one video. Then maybe it will happen.
Carl and I refer to each other as the Tired Dads of Comics YouTube Club. He's very much in that same boat where we're both family men. We both have kids that are really about the same age. We're also both original art collectors.
Oh, cool.
And And so, yeah, we talk about that kind of struggle of like finding family time, finding time to read comics, time to make videos about comics, and time to like be like good people in a family, all going through that.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead the chat a little bit. So I apologize if I miss anyone's comment that they really wanted to for us to talk about. If there is one, just recomment it and we'll see it. But I do want to highlight this one. My friend Jack is downloading Hoopla now. So you just convinced him. And I've been trying to get Jack to read comics forever. When I first got into comics pretty heavy back in college, I remember I had a little bit of extra cash at that time. And I remember buying him a couple trades because I'm like, Jack, you need to read these. I want someone to talk about comics with. So I bought him, I believe it was Alan Moore's Swamp Thing trade one. I was reading that
Very
at the
solid.
time.
Very solid.
Yeah. And then I believe I bought him Saga number one, which is my favorite comic of all time. So yeah, I've been trying to get him into comics forever. And maybe I bought him like Dark Knight Returns as well.
There, Saga is up there. So
nice.
Yep. Speaking my language on both of those.
I love Saga. I upgraded to the deluxe editions maybe a year and a half ago now. And oh my God, I love him so much. I'm waiting for the fourth one. And there is, I believe, enough material out now to collect a fourth edition. So I really hope that is solicited soon.
Yeah, I mean the idea is that we'll get 6 of those when it's all said and done. I'm not super up to date, but I've been reading the stuff past 52 and the big break digitally through Hoopla.
Oh,
in
nice.
fact, they actually get not just the trades, but they get the single issues day of.
You're kidding me.
I would never do such a thing.
That is wow. Okay, because I've been buying them digitally on Amazon.
Oh, so you've been spending $4 a month. That could just be right back in your pocket.
Okay, I'm going to get Hoopla after this. You've convinced me now. Wow. Okay, so is that for other comics too, where it's like the issue once that's out, it's on Hoopla where you can borrow it?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So different, like you're never going to find individual issues from Marvel or DC. Those are always going to be trades. But they will release like different trades. So like, for instance, they're re-releasing the Peter J. Tomasi, Patrick Gleason, Batman and Robin run. That was from years and years ago. They had the individual trades, but now they're re-releasing it in like the big, thick, like, they're calling them books. The equivalent of like what would be like a Marvel complete collection.
Sure.
Or like modern epic now.
Yeah.
When those are coming out and those are like 300 plus pages, those come out on Hoopla and it's one borrow. So like you can get all of that because each like a regular library, you have a certain number of borrows per month, and every library system has a different amount. So for instance, if you're doing individual issues and you've got limited number of borrows, that can sometimes not work out that well because you'll go through your monthly borrows like with, I've got a friend who has 4 monthly borrows through his library system. And if he borrows one, like he could, if he's doing single issues, he gets like 1 single issue a week, and that's his entire budget.
Oh, geez.
So, but some of the smaller publishers, Image, I don't think Dark Horse does, IDW, Boom, they will put a lot of their single issues on day of, but they'll stagger them. So for instance, like the Power Fantasy that's coming out right now from Image by Kieran Gillen and Casper Wingard, one of my favorite books from last year. When I eventually make the best of 2024 video that Carl is making fun of me about, that ranks very highly on there. They have issue 1, issue 3, and issue 5 on there, but they don't have 2 and 4, with the idea being that like we'll give you some of this for free digitally, but we still want you to support your comic shop and go out and get these. Now, that being said, if you look over at IDW, I'm pretty sure all of the current Jason Aaron Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that's coming out, each of those issues has gone on. Like, that hasn't been wrapped up in a trade yet. That's about to. But you can get those day of release. And so a lot of the books that like I'll buy physically and like will be waiting for me in the comic shop, I will read them day of, and I'll have read them before I go pick them up.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, cool. I will say I'm not too much of a issue reader. I very much like to wait for like a full trade. Saga kind of being the exception. And I guess I'm kind of curious as to what you prefer. Do you like to wait for the trade or collected edition before reading a story, or will you read it monthly?
Depends on the title.
Okay.
When it comes to big two, I'm pretty much exclusively collected edition. And in general, I prefer reading that way. But for smaller press stuff, I do, like this is coming out from IDW. This was coming out from Boom Studios.
Oh, I want to read that.
Man's Best.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh, what do we got? The suspense is killing me.
Vamp. Kill time.
Holy smokes. Carl's Collection says Man's Best. Read it. I will read it. I know there's a trade. Is there like a hardcover out for it? Yeah.
I don't believe so. I think they only went with a trade on that one.
Okay. Your camera's a little shaky, but okay, there we go. Oh my gosh. How'd you get that? That's incredible.
It is easier than you probably expect to pick up original comic pages.
Okay.
Most of the time, comic artists are represented by particular dealers and groups, and if you know sort of who represents them and when they're going, you just pick them up from there. Like with anything else, sometimes they'll do like a drop, like where they say all the pages from this particular issue are going on sale at this particular time. There are some where like I've gotten to know the artists over the years and I've just picked them up directly from the artist. So like I have this is my Ben Templesmith portfolio. Ben is a good friend of mine, and just over the years, this is just all different things I've picked up from Ben. So some of them are original pages that he's done. Some of them are
that's incredible.
He's done like original character, or different characters.
Oh, I like that Rorschach there.
Yeah. And then sometimes he just writes me notes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Wow. I am jealous, I will say. Carl's Collection adds original art is a slippery and expensive slope.
Yes.
That's good to know.
Do not get into comic art buying lightly, because I feel like every single one of us who are in the original art collecting, we probably all started being with like, oh, that's a really cool page. I would love that and just that. And spoiler alert, it's never just that.
Just that, yeah. I would love to buy some original comics art and hang it up. I love the way a page will display on a wall, especially if it's just black and white. Just like that behind you there. I just love the way it looks on a wall.
And then that's actually a Daniel Warren Johnson that he. So that was a print that he did of all original characters, and then he drew onto it. And I've got another one that he did for Do a Power Bomb where he drew
my goodness
onto it.
That's awesome. I love Daniel Warren Johnson.
Speaking of DWJ, you just did a video about Extremity.
I did. I absolutely loved that book. Yes. Let's see. What do you got? Oh my goodness. Wow. Is that from the, I imagine it's from the Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the Extremity Signature Edition. So it's the entire, all 12 issues that came out that reprinted the original comic pages at the original size.
That is incredible. Oh my goodness. That is awesome. Wow. I am super jealous right now. I absolutely loved that book. So that's awesome that you have that.
Yeah.
That's a huge slipcase too.
Oh yeah. It's like so that bookshelf that you see right there,
Yeah. Yep.
That's one I custom built, and I did it with like size specifications. Like the bottom one is big enough. Like I built it larger than absolute size so that I could put things like Parker in there, thinking like I'll be able to put every book in there. Spoiler alert, I cannot put every book in there.
That's funny. Is that Extremity the biggest slipcase you own?
Yeah. Yeah. The next biggest I have from there is, I'll figure out how to put that away here in just a sec. The complete life and times of Scrooge McDuck.
That's awesome. Wow. That is crazy. I have the Marvel's Platinum Edition.
Yep.
And I actually bought it from Jess. He sold it to me. And that thing is huge. I have it right here. I can't display it, you know. Is what it is. I would love to get it signed by Alex Ross eventually. Although I don't even know if he does cons or something where he signs stuff.
Yeah, I've got that, and then let's see. Next biggest would be something like Parker Martini Edition.
Nice.
If I can. These are pretty tight. You can see I'm holding it.
Who published that?
So this is Darwin Cook's adaptations of Richard Stark's, famous crime novels. Came out through IDW.
Okay.
Yeah. These are bigger than an absolute. Mostly same size, a little bit bigger.
Nice. It's just I love having those big slipcase. I like absolutes too. Absolutes are a little easier to read when you're sitting down, but like something like the Marvel's Platinum Edition, like you have to read that on a table. Like there's no way you can read that.
You could just do more squats and you put them just right on your legs.
That's an option too. Okay, let's look at the chat real quick before we get behind again. Would be happy to share any and all info I have when it comes to where to get and how to obtain art. That would be awesome, Carl's Collection.
Carl, I would love to know. Do you know if it's possible to get Brett Booth art? I hear. I don't know if that is or not, or if that's even something would be interested in. But yeah, Brett Booth, he makes some okay art.
That book is 1 out of 7 of bunk height. That's a good way of putting it, of measuring a comic book.
How
Nick
many bunks
D
high
said
is
hi.
it? Yeah.
Tell Nick D I said hi as well, Jack. Carl adds, "Hey Bunk, I didn't realize you were into Don Rosa too. We need to talk about that. Love his work.
Yeah, actually,
Life and Times of Scrooge is phenomenal."
you can't see it in the limited view that we have here, but actually in all of my videos, it's either just in frame on some of the older ones, or now that it's moved over in extremities there, it's just out of frames. But for a bunch of my videos, you can actually see the complete life and times that are up there.
Awesome.
Carl, we're sort of we're into the same things, but I think we're sort of flipped a little bit. Carl's bigger into the original art, whereas I would say, especially compared to him, I'm more of a dabbler. I'm more of the original or the collected editions, especially like the big specialty versions. Whereas for him, he tends to do more like single issue and digital reading. So between the two of us, a lot of covered things there.
That's awesome though. Kane is in the chat. Kane, I hope you're doing well. Good evening, everyone.
What's going on, Kane?
I can't stay too long getting sleepy, so I wanted to jump on, say hello, and congrats on the interview. Thank you. Thanks for joining, and I hope if you do stay for long, or if not, I hope you you enjoy.
I hope if you are sleepy, you get sleep, because sleeping when I'm tired is one of my favorite things in the world. And
that is very true.
As I get older, I find less and less reason not to do that. When I get tired, I'm like, I could stay up and do these things, but do I really need to? No. Do I want to get sleep? I do.
See, at my age now, it's tough for me to get sleep because I don't know why, but my brain is like wired where once I lay in bed, I'm like wide awake. Once I try to sleep, I can't. So I end up staying up too late and doing stuff, reading and whatnot, but is what it is.
I don't want to brag, but I'm a
Okay.
pretty world-class sleeper. Like I sleep fast and I sleep hard. Like
I am
you put me up
jealous.
against anyone, I bet I can outsleep them.
I am very jealous because I am not that. It takes a while for me to fall asleep. Yeah, it sucks. I will say, I kind of do it to myself though. I watch TV at night and I used to fall asleep with the TV on all the time. So I'm sure that has just been horrible for my sleeping patterns and whatnots. So I've kind of done it to myself, but is what it is. I don't know.
I used to be a no sound or anything like that, and then what I found over time is like my favorite kind of white noise is actually like people playing video games, because I find that the best white noise for me is people talking, but it has to be something that is so not interesting enough to me that I'm going to pay attention to. And so someone playing video game where like you get some background sound, and it's something like Magic Arena is like a perfect one for this, because like I don't want like loud like gunshots or like sudden noises.
Sure.
Like a little bit of ambient music, maybe a sound effect here or there, but then like someone playing, reacting a little bit, reading the chat, and like a little of everything where they can't fully commit their attention to one thing. Like that's the perfect amount of I am not paying attention to this. That works perfectly for me. And so with that, we've transitioned a little bit more to falling asleep. Like Superstore is one of my favorite shows to fall asleep to, because I love that show, but I've seen it a bunch, and it's like it's an easier one to watch without getting sucked into than something like Parks and Rec. Like if we try and fall asleep with Parks and Rec on, I'm just up watching that episode.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's fair. Usually what I'll do is I'll watch something on YouTube, like facts or something like that, or like a video game video, and sometimes that works, but sometimes I kind of fall into that trap, like you were saying, and get sucked into it. So I got to be careful with it. Let's see.
They're just talking about the bad man in the big hat with the big cape.
What was it?
Carl and Renee are just talking about Spawn. We can ignore them. They're off on their own thing.
Okay. Kane says, I'll stay for like 15 minutes. See, I love to sleep. Sleep is my bestest friend ever. I just don't get enough of it because I have an overactive brain. I would say at night when it's time to fall asleep, I don't want to fall asleep. Like I don't want to end the night. I've always like that's why I don't ever want to turn my TV off to fall asleep. It's weird. It's some sort of sleeping. I don't know if it's a sleep disorder. I don't think it's that far, but um, I do have a hard time like just going to bed and I don't know. I need to work on that, I think. Anyhow, back to comics. All right, they're still talking about Spawn. Why don't I have some questions? Before we dive in, though, I do want to be aware of kind of your time limit. We've been going for an hour and 10 now. Do you have to jump off at any point?
Kids are in bed. We're good.
We're good. Okay. Yeah, so I do have some questions, some comic book related. Then I'm going to save a question that is not comic book related at all for the last question, just as a nice, it's a question I like to ask. I find it interesting and fun to talk about. So we'll save that one for the last. First question, comic book related, I have for you is, what are you currently reading?
So I do a lot of jumping around. So
Okay.
I mentioned before, I do single issues of basically a lot of smaller image or like lower titles. So big two, unless it's basically if I'm buying it in single issues, I feel like I'm voting with my dollars. So like for instance, from DC, I'm buying the Question miniseries because the Question is my favorite character of all time. I want to send the message to DC that I'm supporting this character. New Gods by Ram V and Evan Cagle. I love that creative team on Dawn Runner, and that was it's a smaller title that I wanted. Like it would have broken my heart if DC had canceled it. So it was like doing that. So across the board, I'm reading a lot of different titles. I would say of my favorite things that are going on right now in ongoings. I mentioned before, Kieran Gillen and Casper Wingard's The Power Fantasy is one of my absolute favorite books that's going on. Ultimates by Dennis Camp and rotating artist, but one for Gary is one of the most common. Dennis Camp is maybe like my favorite writer in comics right now. His
Dennis
book,
Camp, you said?
Yep. His book 20th Century Men was my book of the year in 2023. Love that series. Everything he's come from before is great. I think he kind of reminds me of sort of the big brainedness of Hickman with a little bit more sort of approachability. Like Hickman, I find he wants you to keep up with him. And it's like Hickman at times can sort of risks leaving the reader behind if you can't keep up with his like big brain things that are happening. Not all of his stories are like that, but I think that's there. Sure. Whereas Dennis Camp, I think it just like he's going to write big brain, and if you can't follow for everything, that's fine. Like he's going to bring you along with him, and you can still kind of get things. You know, he's one of those like, don't worry if you don't get it all, you're still there. So for I mentioned New Gods. Those are some of my absolute favorites that are going on right now. There is, I don't have the issue next to me. One of just the most absolute fun series that's coming out that I've been loving is this series from an artist called Joseph Schmalke, called 7 Years in Darkness. And Schmalke, he's an independent cartoonist out of Maine, and he is like very much your classic, like, you know, he is everything that parents warned their kids against in the satanic panic of the 80s. He loves heavy metal. He loves demons. He loves different things like that. And because he does all independent, he gets to just write the stuff that he likes. And so this series that he's doing is basically Harry Potter, if only one kid made it out of Hogwarts alive after 7 years, and
Okay.
when that kid and like becomes like this grand sorcerer that like shapes the world, and when that kid dies, or when that sorcerer dies many years from now, it restarts this whole thing. And
What was the name of that? 7 Years of Darkness?
7 Years in Darkness. Yeah. If
Oh my gosh, that sounds incredible.
yeah, and it's so I mean it's at this point the like if things like Deadly Class have done that sort of idea of school, specialized school in this field where like people die and go ahead and do that. And I think Deadly Class is like a better book, but this is like so clearly Schmalke is just like having the time of his life writing and drawing of this. He uses a really particular color palette. Like the school is underground, and so like traditional colors don't exist, and so he gets to color it in a really cool, interesting way. It's definitely not the best book that's coming out, but it is. I love someone who loves what they're doing, and you can tell
Yeah.
Schmalke's just having the time of his life, and that's one of my favorites. That's going on.
Awesome. I'm gonna add that to my list to read. 20th Century Men too. That has been on my to read list forever. I've been meaning to buy that literally for like I think 2 years now. I don't know anything about it. I just like the cover, and I'm like, I want to read that. It seems awesome. And I think I was watching a video where you do mention that, and so maybe that's where I discovered it.
I talk about that book a lot. I love that book. I mean, and it's going to be the kind of book that like some people are going to love, some people are not, but you'll know pretty quickly whether that is.
Sure.
I mean, just look at this art.
Yeah, that's incredible. Who does the art again?
Stepan Morian.
Okay. That's amazing. Oh
like,
my gosh.
On this page in particular, like if you the image of Petrovich is cool, but the cross hatching around him, next level. Amazing.
That looks amazing, yeah. I'm gonna have to bump that up on my list for sure.
And you can read it for free on Hoopla.
That's a great point. Although I will say, I think that's one of the trades that I would just blind buy because I imagine I would like it.
And Renee is 100% right. Deadly Class is. You talk about the pace that you read Invincible. Deadly Class is the same way. It just such a breakneck pace. It's characters you love and what's going on with them. It's fun. It's gripping. It just like that is one, and it's one to. I don't typically say like you have to read the deluxes. If you're gonna read Deadly Class, read the deluxes. Like I read the first trade years ago, and I was like, this is pretty good. I'll go back to it. And then I managed to get a really good deal on the first 3 deluxes. And when I went back and read it, it was like reading it for the first time.
I enjoyed that series a lot too. I had the deluxes right down here, and I thought it was great. So yeah, I agree with what you just said for sure. Harvey Picard's Ghost also great.
Dang,
we're getting rules.
I was gonna say, Harvey agreeing with a comic take.
I know that's rare.
I mean, you missed it before. I was talking before Harvey about a book by Joseph Schmalke that is your definition of independent, where it was originally self-published that he was doing. It got picked up by CEX for further distribution, but I have the original ones that Schmalke was doing back when it was just going for him, and it's just kind of like that beautiful part of. Oh, I'm super jealous. I've looked at some at when Wes Craig was still with Cadence. I kept looking at pages, and I never pulled the trigger, and I'm like super bitter that I didn't. Harvey, what characters are like? Do you have Marcus doing something? Is it like earlier? Is it later? Like, what do you have?
I'd be curious to know too. I read it on Hoopla. I use the compendium, so I'd only use one token. That's smart.
Yeah. So it's
I
one
forgot there's
bar
a
for that,
compendium of
but
that out.
yeah, but Renee, like, come on, man. Like, come on. You'll get the deluxes. It's worth it.
That's funny. Yeah, the deluxes I think are great. They really are. Um,
Lee Lowridge's colors too. Like that's like I love Wes Craig's line work, but just like the colors and that just gives such a mood. And
yeah,
it uses almost entirely flats, which you don't typically see. Like in the color process, typically you have like an assistant who does the flatting, and then the color artist like typically like gives everything, and it uses almost entirely flats in that. And it because it looks like nothing else, you get these high contrast situations. Like yeah, that book is up. That book rules. I think that's probably my favorite Remender story, just for how like he doesn't get too lost in the weeds. It just like it's this fun, captivating ride that just like takes you along, and it's like it's everything you want a comic experience to be.
that's fair. I really want to read Seasons, his new
Oh
comic. Have you read that?
yeah, issue 1 is on Hoopla, and
Perfect.
it's honestly it does seem like if James is still in the chat, he read the first issue, and I think he bought it. Like he paid physical money
Okay.
for it, and he had a slightly different take than I did. I got to read it for free on Hoopla, and I feel like that might have had something to do with it, because it's an oversized first issue, but it's basically one prolonged scene. And if you're looking for like, if you can say like what happened to this issue, like you can, even I, with my aversion of saying things with small words and using many much words to say nothing, like I can sum that issue up in like one sentence. But it's just such a delightful like time as we're going through, and I think it's really effective in showing us the world that this character's in, and we're getting to know her, and like the people around her. And at the time that she finally accomplishes what she's looking to do, it pulls back on some of the fun and whimsy that we had. Like, if you're familiar with Miyazaki, like it feels with some of like the joy and frivolity of like a Kiki's Delivery Service, but with sort of like, I don't want to give anything away with it.
Okay.
It is a wonderful issue 1, and if anyone is like, go read it on Hoopla, and yeah, I mean Carl has it.
Awesome.
It's quite whimsical and creepy is like pretty much the perfect encapsulation. I think I didn't read his comment. I think I used the word whimsical. I didn't want to say the creepy part because like I don't want to give too much away, but I don't think saying a horror book is creepy is, giving anything away. But yeah,
No.
it perfectly hits both of those
Awesome.
in one thing together.
Cool. I may check that out on Hoopla, and then if I like the first issue or first 2 issues, I may just wait for the trade, because that's my preferred way of reading comics. But
I would also say with Remender titles in general, read digitally, buy the big honkin' oversized ones, because
that's true, because he's pretty good about cranking those out once the series is wrapped up.
He does pretty much everything. And the one Remender series that I have in trades, somewhere 7 to Eternity over there. Like I picked up all the trades for that. Beautiful art. And then like by the time I got like the 4th trade, they're like, here's the big, beautiful, oversized edition. And I was like, crap. I'm like,
yeah,
I kind of want to buy that. And like they're pretty, like, especially for what they are, they're pretty reasonably priced.
I think so. Yeah.
They're almost absolute sized, and cover on them for like, what is oftentimes like 2 or 3 trades worth is like $50.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I know IST, which they're not sponsoring the show or anything, for low number 1, which I have up here, that was going for ridiculously cheap. Like I'm talking, I think it was like $9-10 or something, and maybe James knows in the chats. It was it was a huge sale they were doing for that. I didn't get that when it was on sale. I bought it for I think like $18 though still, and I
Yeah,
think
I
the
mean,
cover price is 50
well, especially
bucks.
for low volume. Like low is a weird one where the volume 1 on that is like almost twice the size of volume 2, and they're both the same price. But yeah, volume 1 is like a big honking book,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, low's great too. I love the Tocchini art. Tocchini.
I'm not too sure.
It's
I'm bad with pronunciations, to be honest with you. But
yeah, it's very much like it's sort of like Remender right in the tropes where it's like undersea depression overcoming, like everything that's going there. But yeah.
Harvey Picar's Ghost. I have issue 31, page 8, where they are all partying. Oh, that's a good.
Is that where
That's
they
cool.
are partying in another country that people may or may not be alive that people may not know about?
Trying to remember.
I don't want to say theoretically any spoilers, but is that like in a country that may or may not be southernly adjacent to the United States until we annex it, because the United States is annexing everything, I guess, now?
True, very true. Well, let's go back to James's season 1. Issue felt like something special at the end of issue. Rick Remender talked about 2020. He wanted to create a kind of comic nobody was doing anymore.
So
Okay, that's interesting.
there's a cool page at the end of the seasons where he talks a little bit about his inspirations, and it's really interesting because a lot of the things that he cites aren't what you typically think of with Remender, but it's he cites things like Tintin. He cites Miyazaki. Some of the sort of like Euro-Belgian band dessinée, and just sort of like the sort of like fun, sort of not necessarily all ages comics, but sort of classic comics that we look at, but with sort of more of an adult twist. And it just,
Okay.
I feel like the seasons is going to be really like, that's going to be one. As long as Hoopla keeps putting the issues out digitally, I will read those day of release. And when there's the big honking oversized one, I will absolutely be picking that one up.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to. Like I said, I think I'm going to get Hoopla after this, and then that may be one of the first ones I check out because that's awesome. Okay, cool. I think we're caught up on the chat. RV Picar says I should have way more pages, but I kept waiting to pull the trigger on stuff. That's fair. Carl adds, I feel it's safe to say
That's
the
fair.
creepy part, the first few pages have some creepy vibe to them before the
you get like creepy book ending it basically. And again, it's billed as a horror book partly.
Okay. RV Picar's Ghost. He's going to put it in OmniDog's Discord.
I will.
Awesome.
I will check that out when.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out too.
Are you reading Kaya? Or is anybody else reading Wes Craig's new series Kaya? I read the first trade and I really enjoyed it. Again, it feels like an all ages, like sort of fantasy tale kind of thing, and I like Wes Craig's art, and I like when a cartoonist is doing everything themselves, and that's what he's doing now. So
I'm really bad at keeping up with single issues.
There's like 3 trades out, I think, at this point for Kaya.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I'll have to write.
Let me know what you think. I don't think I've read volume 2 yet. I read volume 1 a while ago. I need to go back through and catch up with where they're at right now.
Yeah, I'm really bad at keeping up with single issues and then also newer trades too. I need to get better at that.
You know where you can read those newer trades?
On Hoopla. On Hoopla, absolutely. Kaya. Carl just bought Kaya Volume 1 this past week. A backup story in the latest Kaya issue, number 25. Awesome. Carl's collection. Let me know how Kaya is. Let me know your thoughts on that. So many big pocket art collectors were into Deadly Class and were also buying pages early before they dropped since they were tight with the deal. I see. Okay, cool. So I have quite a few more questions for you. We can try to do them. There's a few that are more kind of rapid fire.
Whatever you got for me, man.
This one is not so much rapid fire though. But what is the comic that impacted you the most? I know it's a tough question.
So I guess there's a few.
Okay.
There's a few different ways I would look at that. So I guess I'll start. And I'm going to be a little scattershot here.
No worries.
So one of my favorite books of the last few years, it's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood. And
amazing.
This is a book that I think, first off, I'm a sucker for sort of like a memoir style comic.
Me too.
One of my absolute favorite books that I will talk about here in a little bit after this. In fact, I would put higher on my list. This was just on my brain. I'll talk about that here in a second. But there's an emotional honesty that comes from this that I've met Zoe. I've talked with her.
So
I don't
jealous.
know Zoe.
Sure.
So like I'm not someone that like can necessarily judge that, but it just like it comes through in this book so well that she puts herself out and speaks about, even if you're not someone who deals with chronic issues of depression and self-harm and anything that goes like that, there's going to be something in this book that speaks to you. Like there's going to be something in there where you're going to have recognized a feeling that she's had in yourself, times that you've wanted to give up, times you've wanted to fail, and just sort of, what she goes through, how she puts herself out there, but then also just as a comic. I think it's so inventive and imaginative, the way that she handles the paneling, the layouts, even the medium, that she goes, like there's an entire section where she stops telling the story and everything is presented as text with you.
Right.
And I was just talking about this, I think like yesterday, maybe even today. But something like that, I think could have been like so trite and like cringe with someone else, but instead it hits exactly what it's supposed to do. And it feels like these are texts that you have received from her and she's putting out and relaying this story. And Cycles, Harvey Picar's goes is exactly right. Zoe Thorogood totally rules. Like,
yeah,
this book is amazing. Her debut work, The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott, one of my favorites.
Right
I've got a page of both this and Billy Scott. Billy Scott's page is one of my favorite, my collection. She did this sweet little sketch in there for me. Like she's Zoe, just like as both a person and as a cartoonist slash comic artist and writer, like everything about it is just like she's the best.
I completely agree with you with everything you said. She is one of my favorite comic book writers, artists. Anything her name is on, I will 100% day one buy. Anything. I love that book so much. I really enjoyed Impending Blindness. I have not read Rain, which she just illustrates in, but
Rain.
Actually, I have read a few issues of
Rain.
And I enjoyed.
I don't love Rain, and I think it's partly because she is only the illustrator on it, and it's an adaptation of a Joe Hill novel that came through, and it, the art is fantastic, but it lacks her voice, and that sort of comes through. Even something like Haha #2 that she illustrated from W. Maxwell Prince, like I think that's more akin to her storytelling style.
Okay.
And there's something that reads like more her through that to me than something like adapting someone else's adaptation or like illustrating someone else's adaptation.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
fair.
it's cool. It's worth reading, but it's not one of my favorite things. If you're looking for something else, I would definitely go out and check out The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott. Like that one,
I
that one,
completely agree. Yeah,
that one's super cool.
yeah.
Um,
All right.
next up, talking. This was what I was talking about before. Um, Blankets is one of my all-time favorites. So this is one that's like it's a little cliche because at this point Blankets is like one of those, like, if you're taking like a college course about like introduction to graphic novels, like this is going to be on there. Like you're going to see that with like Mouse and things like that. But this is a book that I get something different out every time I read it. It's another like intensely personal memoir style. The first time I ever read this, I was in I was in my mid 20s, I think, and
Okay.
it's a story about the relationships that have formed the author's life throughout his life. And the easy one to jump to, you look on the page, and it's his first romantic relationship that he has with his high school girlfriend Raina. And it's easy to look at as like, like a retelling of a romance, but it's so much more than that. Like it's a reflection of the relationships in his life and how they change and what he focuses on with both his family, God, religion, his brother, and just sort of the different sizes that we put on different things throughout our life, and how they can change over time, how we go back to it. And all throughout, it's beautifully illustrated, laid out wonderfully. It's This is one, like, I read this every few years, and every time I do, like, I pick on something new, and like I want to grab a notebook and like take notes. Love this book.
Awesome.
And then the last one I'll kind of go over, even though this, I could do an entire stream of this. I'm going to say is The Question Number One. And that's for a little bit of a different reason. So that's one. I'll be right. I need to grab a quick glass of water. I am.
Yeah, no worries.
So
Go
vamp
for
for
it.
a little bit. Talk
I'll
about what you
catch up
have
on
to
the.
say about the question.
Yeah, I'll catch up on the chat. What do we have? Aha, number 2 was a deep cut read. I was working in a comic shop when that came out, and I never read it, but it seemed really appealing to me. So I may have to check that out. Uh, anyone who puts themselves into their work like Zoe, you got to respect. Plus, she's a true cartoonist. 100% agree. She is so vulnerable and she's so open about her struggles that it's inspiring to a certain degree. I It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, I think, is just a phenomenal book. Like it should be up there with something. Maybe this is a hot take or just a crazy take. It should be up there with something like Watchmen and like New York's top 100 books to read. Like in my opinion, it is one of the best graphic novels ever, and just one of the best books ever. Um, I I pushed that book on so many people over the years because I just love it so much. I am going to reread it soon and do a video on it actually too. Also, I have a Do La Page spread from Black Science too. Oh, that's pretty cool. Black Science is a good one. I think that might be my favorite Remender read. Also, too, James says puts a potato emoji. I know there's some backstory here.
Yeah. So in the book, It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. In the part where she's texting, she tells this story about a sweet potato.
All right. Yep.
And because I think I'm hilarious.
You are.
Every time I meet her, I bring a sweet potato for her to sign, and get a picture of us together with it, and she thinks it's funny too. And now I'm the sweet potato guy, and
Oh, that's great.
yeah, so
That's awesome.
I
I
make
love
her do
that.
it, and she finds that funny.
I love that. That is too funny. Aubrey Picar's Ghost. The only thing I love Zoe to change is so specific, but anytime she uses the digital blur feature in Photoshop or whatever program she uses after she draws physically and scans it in, I hate it so much. It's like nails on a chalkboard for my eyes. Bunk really likes to yam it up.
Bunk does.
Bunk does.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Little double entendre there.
Yeah. Okay. What's the next book?
So the next one, I can't find my issue one that was remarked, so I'm going to actually go with my favorite issue of the series, which is just signed, and that is The Question by Denny O'Neil and Dennis Cowan. So this was a book that both sort of was different, like kind of changed the way that I looked at comics, and also was what really sort of, I think, took me from like someone who liked comic books to a comic fan. So for anyone who hasn't read this run, The Question was a character that came out in the 1960s. He was one of the old Charlton heroes. He was a Steve Ditko creation, originally back of the he was a backup feature in Blue Beetle, and he was a complete bore. He was Steve Ditko giving his objectionist philosophy that comic heroes are getting too complicated. Objectionism is very Ayn Rand. A equals A. There's good, there's bad, and if you don't know, Letters pages absolutely so good. I read all of those. I love when people would write in and guess about where Hub City was, and to this day, I'm still pretty sure it's East St. Louis because of those letter pages. He like, you go back and you read Mysterious Suspense, the one thing that was there, and it's such a bore of a comic book. Like the Question is this such a self-assured guy, and it's bad. He's not a good character, and he only exists for 5 Blue Beetles and Mysterious Suspense, and then the Charlton loses the line, gets revived by DC, and Denny O'Neil writes The Question, and that version of the character shows up in the first issue and is promptly shot and killed in the first issue. And then in issue 2 that we have right here, it's one of those, like, he was medically dead, like his heart stopped and then he like came back, so it's like a way that like that character died but like didn't die.
Sure.
And it's about basically him relearning his life and finding out that maybe everything he thought was true isn't necessarily. So he's taken to Richard Dragon, who introduces him to sort of Eastern philosophy, challenges his way that he views life and sort of his relationship with violence and his relationship with the truth. And it's basically about a man trying to relearn himself, what obligations we each owe to ourselves, to the city, to the idea of good, how much we need to give of ourselves, how much we need to fight against what may be our true nature in order to be better. All of these things that I absolutely love. Amazing art by Dennis Cowan. But the big thing for me that, like, in addition to it just being my favorite series, is this was the first one where I really was back issue hunting. So like, this was the first one where I got that joy of anytime I'd go to a new city, I'd find the comic shop in town and I'd go right to the letter Q and I'd look through and I'd piece together my run of single issues. Because at this point, there's no such thing as trade paperbacks. There's no omnibus, don't exist.
Right.
So this is one of those digital comics, not a thing.
Right.
If you want to read The Question, you have to find the single issues. And so this was one where like I got the love of not just reading the comics, but also just the comic hunting journey that I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we all kind of love. You know, the idea of like finding your whale, going and back issue hunting. That was, I think, where I went from someone who liked comics to a comic fan. So I'll go with those three.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing.
If you ask me this in an hour, I will probably forget I said those, and then I'll be like, "Oh, this book, like definitely this book," and like that happened.
Oh, that's too funny. No, but thank you for sharing. I do have a follow-up question about the question. Um, when you were talking about it, it kind of piqued my
Mhm.
interest. So I'm wondering, where's a good place to start with the character of the question?
So I would say that there's no better place to start than the Denny O'Neil run. And modern readers,
Okay.
you're so spoiled, and I'm so happy that you are. Because there's an omnibus now, and it's
Nice.
super reasonably priced. $100 retail. You can find it for, IST prices if you're looking at that, for like 800 pages. Um, I would say of the Vic Sage character, you're fine reading this.
Okay.
There's some other places that you can go with it, but really, like the only thing you need to read is the Denny O'Neil, Dennis Cowan run.
Awesome.
From there, if you want to keep going, 52. Well, before you get to, I'm a nut. Like there was a period of time where I owned every appearance of the Vic Sage question. So the only thing you need to read is the Denny O'Neil run. If you want to do more, one of my favorite stories with the character. Batman Huntress, Cry for Blood.
Okay.
I say this is my favorite Batman story. It's not a Batman story. It has Batman in the name, so you can do it. But this is a story of basically the Huntress at a time where she is consumed by these thoughts of violence. She's a cool character because she's caught between the world of organized crime and vigilante justice.
Right.
And it's the question trying to be the Richard Dragon figure for her at a time that she needs it, like he was for him when he needed it. And then a lot of the themes, this is written by Greg Rucka, a lot of the themes that he wrote about in here, he then follows through with in 52, where the Vic Sage question is one of the major characters that goes through there. And then that, like, if you read that, I would say like that's all you need to do.
Okay.
If you made it through that far, there was a Black Label series that came out a few years ago, written by Jeff Lemire and illustrated by Dennis Cowan with Bill Sienkiewicz doing inks, which reads, if you've read this run, it reads almost exactly like what a question run would look like in 2020.
Okay.
It was great.
Cool.
I wouldn't read that without having read this. Like it's very much written for question fans.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the insight and the answers there.
Yeah, no problem, man.
I have that all written down, and yeah, maybe I'll dabble with a question on Hoopla too.
I don't that one
Maybe
might
it
be
won't be
tougher.
on there.
Yeah, because they don't typically carry omnibus, and I don't believe they have any of that there. Hoopla is great, but it's definitely better for more modern releases than it is for older stuff, especially where I think eventually they came out with a few trades of question, but it never finished up. So
I see.
I don't think you're going to be able to, like, you can read 52 on there, but as far as the actual, like the run that I would highly suggest, I don't think that's on there.
Okay, got it. Maybe it's on Kindle or Comixology. I'll have to check on there.
If you have DC Infinite, that I think is about the only way that you'll be able to read it digitally.
Okay. Got it. Okay, cool. Next question, if you're ready.
Lay it on me.
All right. What is a comic you'd recommend to any of the viewers out there who may be a new reader? What are the comics that you think are the best starting place to get into a comic book? We have Alexander back. Hey, hope you're doing well.
Yeah. I don't like to recommend like that.
Okay.
I think everyone is different.
Sure.
What's going to touch with one person and be something that they like may completely turn somebody else off. And so I think better than sort of me saying, here is my taste, here are comics I like that I'm going to put on you. I think the best thing that you can do is ask someone what things they like. And one of the easiest ways to start is, what TV shows do you like? I think that's one of the easiest through ways. So for instance, for people who are, if someone's like, oh, I'm a big fan of The Sopranos, one of the first things I would do is volume 1 of Bendis Daredevil.
Interesting.
Volume 1 on that. And I say that just because I think it's a little bit easier to try to do something like that than even Criminal, which is a little bit more approachable, or like something like 100 Bullets, which is like episodic and an anthology. Those I think, are, absolutely so worthwhile reading, but I think those are maybe a little bit further on. But Bendis writes that first volume of his Daredevil, really without much Daredevil in it. And it reads like a crime show. It's about basically some of the guys in lesser families who are trying to make a play on the Kingpin, who are trying to get a bigger slice of the pie, with Daredevil in kind of this nebulous state. And then he comes in later to sort of come about that. But it reads so similar to, sort of those big prestige TV shows. So, someone lets me know, I like The Wire. I like The Sopranos. I like something like that. I'm like, perfect. Here you go with that. So instead of me saying like, oh, I like these comics, you should read books I like, I'm going to ask someone, what do they like? And I'm going to recommend off of that.
That's fair. Okay, a couple things, I guess, to add on. I need to read Bendis's Daredevil then. If you are saying, because I have read Mark Waid's Daredevil. I have those two omnis. I enjoyed them.
Mark Waid's great.
Yeah, but I'm a huge fan of The Sopranos. I like The Wire. So if you're saying, that's a good place to start for new readers, I think that's awesome. I will.
Bendis is also one of the nice things about Bendis is that like Bendis almost starts what we think of as the modern Daredevil lineage.
Okay.
You go back and you think sort of the creation of the Daredevil character as we know it now comes from Miller. And Harvey's kind of going in there. And yeah, the Miller run is absolutely classic. I think that's something that someone should definitely read. But I think if you're looking at someone who's never read a comic before, I think just sort of the way that media is paced now, especially if you are someone who's a little bit more of a fan of sort of that prestige style TV that we have now, I think something like doing the Bendis Daredevil, and Brubaker is almost like, even though he's a different writer, it's almost the second just part of Bendis.
Okay.
So, those two kind of go there. And then from Brubaker, you get kind of a deconstruction of the character, and Waid sort of picks up the pieces and deals with sort of the fallout from that. And you get a little bit of a different tone. You get some things. You continue to Charles Soule, who kind of does his own thing, sort of picking up from where Wade was, and then you have Zdarsky doing his run with it. I haven't read post the Zdarsky run. I heard the current run is not that great, which is a little disappointing because Daredevil's traditionally one of those characters that you can just, at any point, there's such high quality on a Daredevil book that you can almost entirely look from the Miller era onward. You can just say, like, whatever, like, whoever's on Daredevil, it's probably one of the best books at Marvel.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Good
And
to know.
you can read it on Hoopla.
There we go. Awesome. Awesome. And I do like your, I guess, ideology, if you will, around asking like probing questions, to figure out maybe what the best comic for this person is. I used to work in a comic book shop, and if someone came in and asked, what comic should I buy? What do you recommend? My first question is, okay, what movies, what TV shows do you like? Yeah. And I think that's a great way to figure out maybe what comic they will enjoy. Because you're absolutely right that my favorite comic is, like I said, Saga, Criminal, but people may not enjoy either of those, So I think that's a great way to really kind of narrow it down for the specific person. And let's see here.
You said you like Criminal?
I love Criminal. That's up there. I think Saga and Criminal are tied for me. Oh my God, that is insane.
Yeah, that's from the end of Coward, which is, that was my favorite of those. Leo was always my favorite character.
That is, I'm so jealous of that. That's incredible. I guess talking about Criminal, are you looking forward to the TV show? Or will you watch that TV show? Do you?
Yeah, think? I mean, I'll check it out. I really enjoy those stories. Again, I'm someone who's perfectly fine to let the medium lie with what it is. I really enjoyed the comics and the experience I had from that. Yeah. And in my limited watching, I typically prefer to watch something that I can't consume through comics. But yeah, I'll definitely give them a shot. I wouldn't say that it's going to be high on my list of priorities, but I love a good, crime prestige show, as I've probably given away from some of the things I've talked about and mentioned. So if it comes out and people say it's good, I would love to see how they handle sort of the Coward arc and especially that twist that you get at the end. I'd love to see what they do with Jacob. There's the entire Lawless family. You could do like an entire season of just following through them. So
awesome.
The comics still exist, whether the TV series is good or not. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much to me. But if it means more good TV, I'm into that.
Awesome. And this kind of leads into my next question, actually, which is, and you kind of answered it, but I'm curious to know, what comic would you like to see be adapted into a movie or TV show? Now, I know you said you kind of like to let the medium stay, kind of stay, and not necessarily be adapted, but I would be curious to know.
You know what I think would be a really fun one? Grass Kings, I think, would make for... Come on.
What is it? Grass Kings?
Grass Kings, yep.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, so it's a book by Matt Kent, drawn by Tyler Jenkins, who's one of my favorites, painted and colored by his wife, Hillary Jenkins. And it's a sort of slice of life / crime story about this independent, unincorporated territory within the United States that basically doesn't recognize any authority but its own. And it's these people at odds with the local government. I'm actually a little disappointed. You going through, and I think it ends up being like that. It's somewhere in like the Florida Panhandle or something like that. I always like when I was reading through it, I read it more as like very rural Canada, and I enjoyed that a little bit more. But
Okay.
it's this idea that they acknowledge no government but their own. They don't have like separate services. You know, they are completely self sufficient. They don't bring anything in. They don't. There's nothing else that comes out, and there ends up maybe being a murder. No one's quite sure. And it leads to sort of this history going through the town. There ends up being an outsider from the next town that goes into it. And so they're sort of forced to acknowledge this outside town. And it's this fight for existence for all of these people that are going there. I think they could do a really good TV show with this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that would be I'd be into something like that.
Great. I'm going to add that to my list. I've never even heard of that comic, but your description sold me on it. I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah, Tyler Jenkins, he's an artist I have a number of pages from. I really like that team up. And it also like it's a family book. It's a story about two brothers that are the Grass Kings. They call it the Grass Kingdom. They're the ones that are ruling it. And I'm a sucker for watercolors. It's probably my favorite medium. And so you get Tyler Jenkins' line work, and then you get his wife Hillary's watercolors on top of it. Just
wow.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous. I will say I'm actually not crazy about watercolors. It's funny, I just read Hush, and there's watercolor sequences, and I really like those. I thought those were very effective. So that doesn't necessarily make or break the book for me. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going to check it out.
Have you ever read anything by Dustin Nguyen?
I don't think so. How do you spell his last name?
Nguyen.
Gu.
Yep. He does most of his work that he does is watercolor to the point you can actually see the texture of the watercolor paper in the background.
Let's see.
And just absolutely just beautiful watercolor work. Like
What is that book?
This is Descender that he did with Jeff Lemire.
Okay, yep. I've read part of that. Yep.
Yeah. By the way, Harvey, I did mention Straight Bullets there, just as not when we were talking about things that you would recommend to a new reader. Straight Bullets wouldn't be right what I would jump to, but it's something that I would lead into.
I need to check out Straight Bullets. I got the 100 Bullets Omni right down here.
Mm-hmm.
I've not read it yet. I got it for Christmas. I still need to check that out. I will try to do a video on it eventually.
I'm not the biggest Brian Azzarello fan, so 100 Bullets is a little hit or miss for me.
Okay.
But Straight Bullets is great.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to
completely different thing though.
Yeah, I'm going to check out. That's been on my list too forever. Straight Bullets, so I'll have to check that out.
You can read it on Hoopla.
That perfect. There we go. Hoopla should be like sponsoring us. I think we've gotten quite a few people in chat who are going to
sponsors
download
itself.
Hoopla.
Like it's a free service that you can just like end up having. So
yeah,
they don't need any sponsoring. The service does that.
True. Very true. Okay, so I do have one more comic book question, but I think we're going to ask the non-comic book question first, and we'll end on a comic book question. So this question is, do you have a good paranormal experience? And if you don't, that's okay too.
I'm pretty grounded with my beliefs. So as far as paranormal, I can't say that there's anything that I would really look to with that. The closest, I guess, I can sort of think of that stuck with me through my life is when I was a kid, I was night skiing at Bretton Woods in New Hampshire, and there was a part where I was on this trail, and I ended up catching too much speed, and I was headed right for a tree. Like I was at a point where like I couldn't turn away, I couldn't do anything, and like I didn't like I could see the tree, and I just sort of I didn't have enough time to react, and I just like closed my eyes. And then when I opened them up, like the next thing I knew, I was just like in this fluffy snow, like set beneath the tree. And like I made no contact with the tree or anything else like that. I have to assume that like because the branches were covering it, the snow that was beneath the base was like soft, and I just sort of fell into it.
Right.
But it was very much sort of a like two moments that were unconnected in time that just led directly into each other. And like I very much expected that I was going to be in a large amount of pain. And that never ended up happening. And like that particular moment has stuck with me. But I get that's the closest thing that I would say for any kind of paranormal.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. That maybe it was a ghost that saved your life. You never know.
Could be, but I'm definitely more of a Scully than a Mulder.
Well, it's funny because I am too, to be honest with you, but I do enjoy a good paranormal story. But I very much am kind of in the same camp of being a skeptic.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to entertain the paranormal, if you will. I don't necessarily believe it though. But anyhow, yes, thank you for sharing. And final comic book question for you, final question of the night. What is your favorite comic book of all time and why? Kind of an easy one, but also maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I made like actually a video talking about my 5 favorites, and they were all favorites for different reasons. If I had to pick just one, and I already talked about it, that would be question number 2. That's right here. I think this is kind of the perfect encapsulation of what a comic should be. It's effectively using a legacy character to tell a compelling future story with one of my favorite artists telling sequential art in a captivating way of sort of a self-introspection story of a man being caught at odds with himself and the way he's been living, with what the world wants him to be, with what he wants him to be. And I think it's so effective storytelling, and it kind of shows what can be beautiful about the single issue in that it works off of what issue 2 was. It leads into issue 3, but it tells its own self-contained story. Like you can pick this up and it gives you everything you need. This is his experience he has with Richard Dragon. You get an appearance from Batman in there, and it works beautifully as a way to set off what the rest of the series is.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for sharing that. I am absolutely going to check out the question now. You convinced me before, but even more so now. So yeah, thank you.
You're not getting out of here scot-free. What about you?
I guess not. Oh geez. I don't know. I think my favorite comic is probably Saga. I think that's
Now, Saga is like 70 plus issues too. So you if you say it's your favorite, you don't get to just say it's that whole series. I'm going to make you trim it down. Is there a story arc? Is there an issue? Is there a moment? Like what is, because there's a ton of Saga.
There is. Yeah. Oh my God. See, this is a tough question now. You did a Uno reverse on me. I was not prepared for it.
You don't do this. I'm going to hit you with that draw 4.
Oh goodness. Now I'm trying to like change my answer. I don't know, because there's so many moments I love in Saga that it's tough. I will say, I guess my favorite parts of Saga is really the relationship between Marco and Alana.
Hmm.
And I know that's probably not, it's not, maybe not specific enough for what you were looking for. But I think that's what really is why I love the comic so much. I think it's Brian K. Vaughan and his writing and the dialogue and the emotions involved in that is just fantastic. I will say also too, there are just so many great cliffhangers in I think that just goes to show Brian K. Vaughan being a excellent comic book writer. I think he really knows how to use the medium to its advantage in that sense, where that page turn where it's like the final page of the issue and it's a big reveal and you're like, oh geez, now you have to continue reading. And I'm trying to figure out a moment that I really love in it. Oh man. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess I was going to say that the twist at the end of issue 56, I think it is, like that first half,
Mhm.
where it leaves you on that big cliffhanger and you're like, oh my gosh.
I mean,
Uh,
if your favorite part is the relationship between the two of them, that's, I mean, it seems like that's a little tough to say it's your favorite part.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You really stumped me with this one.
Now you get to know what it feels like to be on the other end of your questions.
I guess so. Um, yeah, I don't know. Let's see what Harvey Picar says. The classic saga page one splash page shock surprises are my favorite.
Yeah, I think there's
That's
very
good.
much there's an art in comics to writing sort of because one of the things that like comics has as a medium over basically anything else is sort of, the jump scare effect where the reader controls the pace that they're consuming the media. And with the fact that it is a visual medium, the fact that you turn it and you don't know what's there, but you instantly digest everything at the same time. There is something that's so special about comics with those, that page turn reveals that you go there. And
Yeah.
Brian K. Vaughan is great at that. A guy I think is wonderful at it, even if he's not necessarily one of my favorite writers. Kirkman's not a guy I always love. I
Hmm.
kind of think of Kirkman in some ways as like the Michael Bay of comics, where he writes like big, bombastic, over the top blockbuster comics. And there's certainly a place for like a popcorn comic. But I think whether you look at it's his Walking Dead or Invincible or any number of his others, he is really, really good at high impact pages that, on the flip immediately impart a reaction and emotion. You can argue that sometimes it's done for shock value. You can argue that it doesn't, there are times where it doesn't necessarily follow through with that, but you can't deny that the man paces comics and is really good at delivering a page that on that flip just hits you in some way. And that is, I think, one of the most special things about the comic medium.
I completely agree with you. Um, yeah, I think Saga does that great. I think The Walking Dead does that great. Um, I do think I'm going to partially change my answer though
Okay.
to something completely different. It is one of my favorite comics. Um, for a different reason though, and it's In by Will McPhail. Have you read that?
Yep. The yeah. He's the New Yorker cartoonist. It's the whole thing where he's dealing with he can't relate to people. He's caught in his own world and the
Yep.
relationship. I loved that less than most people.
Really?
Yeah.
I think In is probably it is one of my favorite comics ever. It's up there with Saga. It's lonely. I absolutely love that book so much. I think it's a great use of the comics medium as well. Not necessarily so much for like the page turn reveal, like
Mhm.
what you were talking about. It's kind of a different story. Um, but the way he uses panels to convey time and whatnot, I just find so amazing, and also emotion, and ultimately the connection that he does end up having with some people. Um, I just think it's amazing. I can relate to that book in a lot of ways. I think the main character is relatable just in many ways, other than, um, him struggling to connect with people, even like his family or some of his friends and whatnot. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just love that book so much.
yeah, there were some things that were in there that I thought were done really well. Like,
Hmm.
I think back to the scene where he's got the plumber at his house who's like
Yeah,
fixing his toilet,
yeah,
and he's just like struggling so hard to connect. And it's that, like, anyone who is like over a certain age and has had to have some type of like service done, where you need to go to a specialist, like you've all encountered that sort of thing where it's like, you and you called a specialist because like they have knowledge and training that you don't have. But
right.
there's like, because it's something that we all use, there's almost like a shame about doing it. And there's like this sort of like, you're having someone else do something that theoretically you could do, and it's like, how do you fill that time? How do you try and not seem useless as a person? And then just like the emotional honesty that comes from that moment when he like talks about how, like, I'm jealous of you in this moment, and then the guy looks back at him and he's like, I could say the same thing about you. And there's like that brief moment of connection that has, and then it's like lost and you think it's meaningful and nothing happens, and he doesn't like build on that. I think there's some really things that are done well there. And then I think the book, it's a little it's a little do you ever play the game The World Ends With You?
No, I don't believe so. No.
Uh, I hate that I'm using this word, but it's an old quote unquote. The game's almost 20 years old at this point, which makes me very sad. But it was a hyper stylized, pretty unique JRPG by Square Enix, for the Nintendo DS, and it explored a lot of those sort of themes of self isolation and like not letting people in and not connecting to people. And I that one was like a much more basic story, but I think more effectively conveyed the process of like letting someone in. Like, in was a little too scattershot, and then almost like a little bit too formulaic. It's that
Hmm.
sort of classic, like, it takes a traumatic experience in my life to realize I needed people all along. And then there's like the like classic romance, movie where, he goes running back to the girl, and I was wrong. I should have been honest with you from all along. It took this major thing that happens halfway through the book that I don't know how to connect with, and I'm making the big grand speech to you, and then you had written me off, but maybe you'll let me back in your life. And a lot of I wanted it to be better than it was. I went in that book wanting to love it, and I personally felt like there was something there, but it didn't quite hit.
Okay. Interesting. I
But
would.
I love when people love things that I don't love. Like, I want people to love books that I don't like. So one of the guys that I respect, on comics on YouTube most, is a guy named Ang Shimani. Is the channel For the Love of Comics. I know he's a big fan of that, and Ang Shaman is someone who's one of, I think, the great appreciators of comics, and expresses that, and is, his opinion is one that I sort of like take super, super highly. And I know he was a fan of it. And so sometimes I wonder, am I the problem? Skinner meme? No, it is the children who are wrong.
That's a interesting way to look at the book. Yeah, I guess that's the great thing about comics in any medium is that it's all subjective to a certain degree, you know. And that's why I love it so much, is to have conversations like this where we may not agree on a book, or you may not love it as much as I do, or whatever, you know.
I have told this story many, many times.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell it again here.
Awesome.
My favorite comic conversation I ever had was with my buddy Curtis, Skip and Tosh on YouTube. Fortunately, he's no longer with us.
Oh, geez.
But we were reading Tom King's. Sorry, give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
We were reading the book Human Target, and I'm a big Tom King fan. Yeah, Purple Hearts absolutely for Skip. I'm a big Tom King fan, and he is not. I guess was not, but I thought, you know, he's a big crime noir guy, and especially sort of like he loves a kind of like tropey crime, you know, like one that kind of like leans into its roots. And I thought that this one was going to hit for him, and so I Venmo'd him $5, and I was like, "Hey man, buy issue 1. I think you'll like it, but if not, it's my money. Like, you're not out anything. I want to see, you know, what you feel about this." And through 6 issues, he bought them, and opinion never changed. He didn't like it, but we talked every single time about what we liked. He talked about how he didn't like, and at no point did we ever try and change each other's minds. It was never a "you're wrong because you don't like it. Here are the reasons why you are wrong." It was, "Hey, when I read this, I got this from it." He's like, "I didn't feel that." And just my absolute favorite comment that he made through that, and I think is just something I try and keep in mind when I talk to someone that has a different opinion about me, like really with anything, not just like comics, was there was a point where he said, "I really wish I could read this book the same way that you do." And he meant that so sincerely. Like just going in and the enjoyment I was able to get from it and the way that I was reading it and I was picking up, that wasn't happening for him. And it wasn't like, you know, from anyone else, but like Skip was about the most sincere guy you'd ever meet. And from anyone else, it just kind of like, "Huh, I wish I could enjoy it like you do. But unfortunately, I have such a big brain that I can't enjoy those Philistine things that you like." But literally, it was just him. And, you know, it was an impasse. We had a difference of opinions. We found different things there. And he so wished that he loved it in the way that I did. And I thought that was just one of the most beautiful sentiments that you can have, is just wishing that you could love something like someone else did and understanding that you don't, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm so sorry to hear about your friend.
Yeah, it was a few years ago. It's
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story, though. I thank you for sharing that. I really enjoyed hearing about that, and I think the sentiment that you're conveying is absolutely correct. And I felt that too before, where just watching other comic book YouTubers gush about a comic, and you know, I'm not huge into Marvel or DC. I do like them. I have a lot, but it's there's a lot of stories that I just don't love, and yeah, I think that rings very true to me and every comic book reader out there, where, you know, you do wish you could love something as much as that other person. Um, And yeah, I think that's a beautiful sentiment. I really do. And understanding that you just don't is okay too. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Harvey Picar's Ghost is wondering if you read Dan Clow's Monica.
Yeah. Before I answer that, Day Day, you came back. By the
Oh
time
yeah,
we got up to your comment, I was singing. I
Omni-Nation's
was
here.
trying to do my best, Day and trying to Day Omni Nation in the chat, and you were gone, and I was just doing it to like the ether, and I just looked like a fool. So I appreciate you coming back. Catch it on the replay. I was excited to see your comment, but you were gone by then. Jumping back up to Harvey. Yeah. So I'm someone that I didn't love Klaus's earlier work with 8 Ball, and I will admit, because I didn't read some of the later stuff that was in there. 8 Ball is a series of self-published comics that he did for many years. That kind of had a few different ones. So like one of the major early works is like Satin Gloves on something, and then Ghost World was another one, and just really those, they didn't hit for me. And and like knowing that was Klaus's major work, I was like, I think Klaus just might not be for me. But I always want to give something another shot. And Monica came out end of 2023, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give Klaus another shot. And it was one of those that sat around in my to be read pile. I finally got around to reading it, and I really enjoyed it. Monica was like exactly the kind of comic that I like, where you get, it's slice of lifey, it's a little bit larger than life, it's got feelings. The I can't say too much, but it tells the story of this one character, Monica, and as the major players in her life move around in her search for her own story of importance, weaving in some different elements, you get different elements that are there. You get some fantastical, but is it really fantastical? Is it grounded? I'm still not entirely sure. This is one I think I need to go back and read a second time, because the ending is a little abrupt, and I think that might be partly the idea for it. But I really enjoyed Monica. It's
awesome.
It's a quick read. It's not as quick as it probably looks, because it's a pretty thin one, and it's a beautifully made book. It's Fantagraphics, thick matte paper, colors like really vibrant, nice hardcover. Definitely one I would suggest. I got it from the library, and it's it was great.
Awesome. Well, Harvey Picar's Ghost. There you have it. Omni-Nation Comics. You're awesome, Bunk. He is awesome. Both of you guys are awesome. Oh,
You're awesome.
You're awesome, Omni-Nation Comics. Thank you so much. Yeah. Before we end, I've been eyeing a comic that has been behind you the entire show, and we actually can't see it right now. I only can see it when you move like this. It's a white whale of mine. Is that the term white whale, or is it just whale?
I mean, whale is just typically short for white whale. I mean, the idea is that it's an allusion to Moby Dick. You're going for your white whale, and then just people will shorten it to whale.
So mine is a white whale, Kill or Be Killed, the deluxe edition.
You can see
that? When you moved, I spotted it. Yeah. That is a holy grail of mine. It's just absolutely beautiful. I have all 4 trades. Incredible. Just incredible. I absolutely love that series. I think that would make for a great limited TV show. It could be like they could probably do it in one season, but if they stretch it out, maybe like 2 or 3, I think it would be incredible.
This is one of the few Brubaker and Phillips story, and it's unfortunate that it's out of print, that
Yeah,
I think does really benefit by being in this larger format.
I would agree.
I think this is some of the best work that Sean Phillips did. And also, if you just look at the way that the pages are laid out, this is one of their few projects that does all the way to the bleed. Whereas something you can see like Criminal, it makes for like a very cool layout, but you can see all of the pages around them. They have this sort of white border. So it doesn't go necessarily, it doesn't take full advantage of the page real estate in a way that does. The fade out, it's the same way it does that. So
James adds the Killer Be Killed Compendium trade paperback came out today. Wow. I think that would probably be the best way to collect that story instead of the smaller trades, just because I think that it just would read best in one go around.
I got lucky on that one. So I was that was pretty early into my sort of like premium collected editions. At that point, I was still I had taken a fairly big break from comic collecting when I moved out to Denver, and I was in like this tiny little apartment, and I just didn't have room for comics. And so like I was out for a while, and like if I checked anything out, it was always digital, just because I didn't have room out there. And then when I moved out here to Cleveland, where I live now, and we bought a house and we had space, and we knew we weren't going to be moving every 2 years like we were out there. I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna sort of check out what's going on. And that question series I mentioned that Jeff Lemire did was coming out, and so I was like, oh, I got to buy this. I got to tell DC that I support this character. Started going out to comic shop again. Shout out to Carolyn Johns out here. And I remember when the Killer Be Killed, the deluxe edition came out, and Brubaker was a guy that I loved, and I was like, oh man, this is new stuff. And the guys at the shop were really selling me on it. But at that point, I was like, I don't know, $50 is like kind of a lot. Like now I look at that and I'm like, I should probably keep my advice from back then. But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna skip it. Like $50, like I don't know, whatever. And then what actually helped me out is the pandemic happened shortly after that, and they they were forced to close down, as were all non essential businesses at that point. And as sort of like a measure that they would to like try and just stay afloat at this time, they ended up setting it up where you could email them, and they were just like, hey, we're going to ask you to just do us a solid. Like, if there's any comics you want, like once a week, like email us what you want, like call in your card number, and then we will drive these comics to your house. We'll leave them on your doorstep. And I remembered seeing that, and I wanted to help support my comic shop. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy that Killer Be Killed Deluxe Edition. And I was so glad I did. I ripped through it, and I did that. And then it ended up, going out of print and being a little bit of a whale. I think that one's still pretty, like, for whale. I'm allergic to buying over retail, so I'd never do that. But I think you can buy it for like 80 or 100. Still too much to do it, but
yeah, I'll have to look and see. I thought the last time I looked on eBay, some other websites, it was a little more than that. So I was like, I'm definitely not like 150 or so. So I'm definitely not doing that.
That's silly.
Hopefully it gets a reprint. I don't know if it will though. It would be amazing if it did. But I'm not. I think I'm just gonna stick with my trades for now and if I do come across an amazing deal for the deluxe, I'll pull the trigger. But until then, I'll wait. But that's an awesome story that you shared there. When the pandemic happened, I was in college and I wasn't really into comics yet, not to like the level I am now. And I remember, some similar things where small businesses like that would say, "Hey, listen, just call us and we'll deliver your books or your goods, whatever it is." So that's just an interesting, I guess, time capsule, if you will, of what the world went through at one point. And yeah, I don't know. That was a neat story that you shared there.
Yeah.
And good on you for supporting them too. Are they still in business? Did they survive?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
I still check them out every week. Yeah, they
Awesome.
they got through the they used a good portion of their PPP money to pay a big bonus to each of the employees that worked through that as a thank you for continuing to come in. And they did like a whole they printed like big novelty checks for them. They did the whole like Star Wars end of New Hope where you get dun 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 dun, and they like do the award ceremony where they like put the medals on each of them, as a thank you for doing it, which was a really cool thing. But yeah, they're still around. Yeah,
Awesome.
we're actually pretty blessed here in Cleveland as far as the comic shops that we have. Carol and John's is my main one that's in Cleveland. Up in Lakewood, which is just a little bit, just right outside the city. There's a really good one called Superscript. You go on the east side, you've got some. You go further west, you've got some. There's one that's like right down the road from me. Like, we've got a number of comic shops that are all around and kicking, and each one does like a slightly different thing.
Awesome. If I'm ever in the Cleveland area, I'm definitely going to have to do a comic book tour. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we've been going for 2.5 hours. I think let's wrap up. Any final thoughts, things you want to bring up before we end?
I am looking forward to proving what a champion sleeper I am.
I bet. I will probably be up for the next few hours, I imagine. Carl's collection, good chat tonight. Take care, gentlemen. You as well. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, if anyone here doesn't know Carl's collection, highly suggest check out Carl's channel. He does a lot of what we're doing here, sort of talking about comics in sort of a sit down conversational tone. Big original art collector. He has one of my favorite weekly wrap ups where he kind of goes through and talks about his issues. And we're actually hoping to get on a live stream a little bit later in the few months. And while we're talking about guys, we got to shout out. If you go down 2 comics, got to give a two up. Oh yeah, there's his link, but got to give a shout out to my guy Omni Nation Day. As sort of even keeled as this conversation is, Day is the complete opposite. Day is high energy, engaging. Like there is no one who is having more fun with comics than Omni Nation.
I love it.
He's going through, he's cracking himself up. He is, he loves comics in every sense of the word. And just there's such a pure joy that radiates from all of that.
Fantastic.
Like I watch his videos and go like, dang, should I just like down 3 cups of espresso and just like get my heart beating at like 180 beats per minute and try and get to half his energy level? Because like I'm that kind of like, yeah, let's have a little bit of an NPR discussion where we'll go ahead and dissect the major themes that are purveying at this moment. Whereas Day-Day's like, guys, you have to understand this comic is so good. Let me break down all the reasons why it's so good. It is amazing. Here, check this out. Do you see that? This is the best. And it's like, that is the best. That is the best. Why am I talking like this? Why am I not talking about this? So why are people not getting as excited as he is about that? Love his channel.
Fantastic.
He was just on OmniDog. You can check him out on check out the replay. He just dropped a video of DC Omnis that just came. Help me out here. This wasn't your big budget one. It was. I remember the books you talked. It was like for new readers. Because what was your video you just? James is gonna leak it, but like you talked about Green Lantern. You talked about Jeff Johns a lot. You had Peter David's Young Justice in there. I can't remember like what was the unifying theme. DC for new readers. Okay, it was new readers.
Let's see. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, James just dropped the link right there. But again, like
awesome.
Yeah, comics at their heart should be fun. No one's making more important than Day-Day.
Fantastic. Day, let me know if you're on Discord. I don't think I have you on Discord, and I apologize if I do. But I would love to connect on Discord and have you on the show for an interview. That would be awesome. Same with you, Carl's Collection, if you're still here. Let's try to link up and have you on to have a conversation. Let's see. And then also Bunk, too. I do have your link to your YouTube channel in the description below. So if anyone's watching who has not already subscribed to BunkmastaB, please do so right now before we end the show. I am on Discord. I just never use it, but I am down. Awesome.
Yeah,
George?
if you check out my channel, you can see not a single video from 2025.
Well, that's okay.
We're probably getting close to another 100 days without anything, and apparently I'm going to put out a Power Rangers reading order, and maybe I'll get around to making a video about best comics of 2024. I don't know. I'm a tired dad. I'm not good at.
You got a lot on your plate, man.
I'm good at. Man, like I get jealous of channels that just do like live streams. Like like you put me on the spot, like I'll go ahead and I'll do something like that. But actually, like planning and like sitting down and then the editing, can't be doing that. Why did I ever sign up for this? When you were talking before about like structuring this as like my journey as a YouTuber, like literally I was planning. It's like I'm just gonna tell people like, here's all the things that I did that you should not do, because I am not a case in point of like what to do on YouTube.
I would disagree. I think you bring your own taste and flavor to it. There are plenty of other channels who don't upload regularly and find success. And I think you found success. You just hit 1,000 subscribers. I just looked too. You're at 1.1. So you are crushing it. I love your content. I wanted you to be on the show. I love I trust your opinion in comics. There have been plenty of books that you have mentioned on your channel, or maybe when you were guest starring on OmniDog's channel, that I immediately read and were amazing. So I appreciate you coming on the show first off.
Why you got to do that to me? James is hitting me with the personal attacks right now.
It's been 76 days since the last BunkmastaB on comics video. I want to see a new video. Bunk.
I want to too. Are you volunteering to watch my kids? That once again is my ask of the internet. If anyone is volunteering to watch my kids, I will happily crank out some things. But again, bro, I am a champion sleeper. By the time those kids are done and the dishes are washed, man, that bed is just like really good to sleep in.
Calling your name.
Yeah, man.
That is funny. James just volunteered. Perfect. You're doing the comics YouTube community a favor with that, James. Anyhow, I really appreciate you coming on, Bunk. It's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, man, this was fun. I liked putting you on the spot and hitting that reverse there.
I know. Next time if you come on the show, I'm going to be prepared with more answers in case you do the same trick. You know, you Uno reverse me there. So I'm going to make sure I'm prepared when you come on next. And yeah, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule as a father. It's been an absolute blast. So I really appreciate it.
This was fun. And if for whatever reason you guys are in the chat watching this and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe on Labruski.
Yeah, I always forget to mention that.
Figure out why you can't get notifications. And if you can't, just click on the channel every day and just see if there's something new. Don't do that with mine because there won't be. But do it for his.
For my channel, there will be something new tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, there you go.
A Batman Hush video. And I do have a comic schedule, a comics YouTube schedule. Every Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, there will be a new comic book in-depth review out for all my comic fans out there.
Hush you got a lot of hate. Hush is a lot of fun, man. Like I think Hush is one of the greatest showcases for Batman. Like it's not the greatest Batman story, and for whatever reason, Jim Lee's art is now divisive, and some people say it's terrible and it's not good.
I think that's crazy.
That's ridiculous. Also, why is my flip case on upside down? Is it? No, it's not. But yeah, like absolute Hush right here. Like this is this. Where's my book? Just what is happening here? Okay, slipcase was upside down, but yeah, I mean this book. It just like it does. Look at this.
I know. It's incredible.
It does. It's a showcase of so many just things that we think of with Batman.
Yeah.
The mystery is a little bit of a letdown, but just like it's so fun along the way.
I talk about my video, and I get spoilers for my video tomorrow. About how it feels like almost like a blockbuster movie where
100%
the story is not very in depth. You know, there's not much depth there, but it is such a roller coaster ride for Batman fans. And for me that works. I understand for some Batman fans and comic readers that may not do it for you, but for me, I love it, especially I do on the Absolute. And it's just fun to almost like I can kind of turn off my brain and just enjoy where the book takes me. And I think it succeeds in that.
I mean, there are so many sort of like tentpole moments that you can look at that, again, you talk about it as that Hollywood blockbuster. I don't think it's spoiling it to say that, there's a fight scene between Batman and Superman, and it's super contrived and it's so not necessary, but it's a great moment of this book that you just like, as a comic fan, you're like, yeah, I want to see that. And you get so many of the rogues gallery. Should they be there? Does it help the story? No, but you get to see Jim Lee draw them. And, sometimes that's what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And it's honestly, I think it is one of my favorite Batman books. Like I said, I do recognize like it's not a great detective story, and it's not an amazing story. I think, especially at the end, like there's 2 pages of it's super dialogue heavy, just explaining the detective mystery about it, and it just seems kind of lazy.
Yeah, and I mean some of that just came with the history of the book, where it was the conclusion of it was changed sort of part way through.
I didn't know.
I don't know if you've touched on this, but the book was originally supposed to be bringing Jason Todd back. Like the original intention was that Hush was supposed to be Jason Todd, and then they ended up switching off of that. But not long after that, Jason Todd gets resurrected in the Batman story Under the Hood that Judd Winnick does, but yeah, from what I understand with that one was like when that had to happen, they had to like one of the reasons it's so obvious is because a character that was supposed to be a red herring ended up having to be the whole thing, and he had to like kind of change some things around when like DC editorial was like, we're not really looking to bring Jason Todd back just yet.
And okay, I did not know that. I guess I should have maybe done a little research before I filmed my video. But
I could be completely wrong. I could be completely misremembering.
It would make sense.
But
it would make complete sense that the reveal or the character of Hush is who it actually is more of was supposed to be a red herring. That would make complete sense. And that sucks. DC kind of put a stop to that because I think that would have been ultimately a better story if they stuck with that and the vision that Jeff Loeb had. I think that would have been better.
I mean, it's hard to say to compare it to a story that we never got. I was pulling those Judd Winnick issues when they were coming out. Like those, even as it was happening, I knew like these aren't great comics, but like they were enjoyable. I had a lot of fun with that era. I still enjoyed the Under the Hood era and then the stuff that came with it. Again, it wasn't great Batman comics, but they were enjoyable. So I'm, I would have not liked it as much, not getting those after the fact.
Interesting. Okay. I think when they saw the reactions and realized people wanted Jason Todd back. Yeah. You might be right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, why don't we end it here? Thank you again, Bunk. It's been an absolute blast. I hope to have you on the show again if you would ever want to come back. I do another show on Saturdays at 6 p.m. called the All-in-One Nerd Show with Illuminati. Shout out to Illuminati.
Yeah, my guy Tyler, another soon to be member of the Tired Dads Club.
Exactly. And I imagine when he when the baby's born, he may have to take some time off. So I may need to shoot you a text to see if you want a guest spot on that show, if you're ever interested in that show.
Weekends are generally a little tough for me. That tends to be family time. But
that's fair.
Yeah, we'll figure something out going down there.
Absolutely.
And Tyler's my guy. I love Tyler. So maybe maybe I can crash one of those at some point and incite a riot in the chats, and that's one of my favorite things to do with Tyler.
Absolutely, that'd be awesome. But all right, guys, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out Bunk's channel if you have not done so already, and we will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.